November 5th, and the Finance Committee of the Warwick City Council is called to order. Need a motion for acceptance of the minutes of August 15th.
Move for favorable action.
Second.
We have a motion for favor. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. 2017-045, Rescue Service Billing Administrator, found on page 1.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. Brian Silva,
Brian, can't
Finance
hear you.
Director.
Is that mic on?
Is it on? Okay. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Brian Silva, Finance Director, presenting. As you mentioned, before you this evening is the 612 alteration of contract for the Rescue Service Billing Administration. The request is for a 3-month extension from from 10/1/2018 through 12/31/2018. This contract was originally awarded for a term of 7/1/2016 through 6/30/2018. It was then given a 3-month extension of 7/1/2018 through 9/30/2018. The department is requesting a 3-month extension again because this the work associated with this contract was previously done by somebody that's been retired, and we've been a little short-staffed getting it up to speed. We'd also like to make some changes to the RFP and go after some of the more delinquent accounts on the city books with regards to this account. So we are in the process of bringing the new employee that's handling this up to speed, as well as rewriting the RFP. We're looking for a 3-month extension with an amount of $22,500.
Brian, I just don't get the numbers here.
Yes.
So in my binder, it says the current contract period, July 1st, 2016 through September 30th, 2018, and it says the current contract award of $22,005.
Correct.
So I'm understanding the 2 years is $22,500.
No, the original that is just for the 3-month extension. That $22,500 was from July 1 through September 30th.
So then this information we have in this sheet, is this not accurate?
Nope. So it was awarded at the June 20th meeting for $22,500 for July 1 through September 30th, and now the request is for $22,500 for the next 3 months from 10/1/2018 through 12/31/2018.
So where this says current contract period, shouldn't that say for the 3 months ending September, as opposed to showing us right here, current contract period, July 1st, 2016 through September 30th, 2018. When I look at that, that tells me I'm talking about a 2-year contract, and directly above it, it says current contract award, $22,500.
When the bid was originally awarded, it was awarded for that 2-year term. This 2017-045 was originally awarded that 2-year contract, which was 7/1/2016 through 6/30/2018.
For how much?
It was actually not listed as an amount. It's a revenue generating. This is obviously a revenue generating, and it's still revenue generating, but we are paying out funds to the vendor. It was reviewed when this was last brought before the council. Though it is revenue generated, we are still expending funds to the vendor. So we made a change on that. We're showing the funds that we're anticipating to spend to the vendor for this. So we'll take in a given year probably about $2.9 million for this service. But on average, there's expenses associated with about $7,000, $7,500 a month for this contract. So we wanted it noted. We're paying funds to that contract. It should be noted here.
So the expenses that were kind of like fronting $7,500 a month.
Yes.
To get a return.
Correct.
And totaling about $90,000 a year.
Correct.
Okay. So why do we have a special account here, 302-0404 for expense rescue services ComStar? Why does ComStar have a specific account where I don't see this in other things like different things? I can't think of them right off the top of my head, but for a vendor to have a specific account, why is that?
It's listed as ComStar because they're the current vendor. When there was a prior vendor or there was one set up for the prior vendor, it's just as a clearing account. So all the expenses go through there, all the revenue goes through there. Once everything is posted on our end and we have everything posted and we close out the month, the revenue will then go into the general fund and we'll post to the revenue account 03525, I believe.
Yes, 03525 revenue. And something else that it's been a concern to me for a while with some of these delinquent amounts, like water and sewer bills and et cetera, that amount into the millions. So in here, this report goes on to say the Finance Department is in the process of revising the request for proposal to include additional language, which you just stated, and parameters related to the delinquent amounts due. So give us some insight as to what additional language we're talking about.
That's what I've been working with our solicitor as well as the representative from the current vendor just to get an idea of what we can do, and I brought that back to our solicitor. We're working on what we can do with regards to this, and we're working that out to put that into our RFP. But that's part of the reason why that wasn't prepared yet, but that is the goal, and we have been working with the solicitor on that.
You have more what?
We have been working, I'm sorry, with the solicitor on that, as well as the current vendor to get some of the language and then bringing it back to the solicitor.
And these delinquent amounts, how much are we talking about with delinquent amounts?
I'd have to get back to you on that. I don't have that right now.
Okay. I'd like to see that, you know, what these delinquent
I'll get that
amounts
to you
are.
first thing tomorrow.
And apparently, when you're doing this additional language, one of the topics of conversation needs to be to tighten up the collection process on this. So I'm understanding this to mean that we do rescue service and sometimes we're not getting paid or we're not getting paid in full. Is that what we're referring to?
We are very good at getting collections right away. Then obviously you don't get everything. Say we collect, I'm throwing a, don't hold me to this, I'm saying a number. Say we get 95%. I'm just throwing a number out there. That last 5%, I think we could do more. I think we could do more to get some additional revenue. Right out of the gate, that initial collection, that's what this contract has done very well with. We'd like to get a little more aggressive with some of the stale dated or what's become stale dated.
So how do you base your collection? The fiscal year?
Yes.
Okay. So when you let us know what the delinquent amounts are, could you also give us what the ratio is of the collection rate?
Sure.
Okay. All right, I don't have any other questions. Any questions from me? Councilman McAllister.
Yes, so Brian, you had mentioned, you take in about 2.9 million using this service, so if we, increase the collection rate and stuff like that, we can see that number go up as well.
That is the hope. There's given what's, the balance that's outstanding, we expect to be able to increase that, yes.
Okay, yeah, I think that's a good goal to hit, so, thank you.
Yeah, you could be talking another 150,000 easy if you're talking 95%.
I mean, that was
just using a number.
Yeah.
You could be talking several 100,000.
Yeah.
You could be talking about here. Okay, good. Any questions from members of the council? Any questions from members of the public? Hearing none, I need a motion.
Move for favorable action.
Seconded.
We have a motion for favorable. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. 2018-078, found on page 8.
Good evening, Chairman.
Good evening.
The City of Warwick Fire Department requesting a 612 alteration to existing bid contract. 2018-078 overhead door repair and replacement. The fire department is requesting to increase the award to the overhead door company. The current bid expired on August 31st, 2018. The award was for a period of 1 year with the amount of $13,000. Currently, we have an outstanding invoice of $1,252.19. We have insufficient funds of $388.84 to pay this invoice. Fire Department requesting to increase the award by $388.84 for a total award of $13,388.84. Funds will come out of budget code 35340, and there's currently $59,571 in that budget code.
Chief, I actually went back to last month's meeting on this and my document, and about, I don't know, 8, 9 different questions I asked about this, because I was somewhat interested in knowing how come all of a sudden this $20,000 bid for overhead doors in general became a $20,000 bid for just DPW, and the fire department was looking for an additional $13,000. I had asked a lot of questions about what type of repairs, what doors, what stations, et cetera, and received very few answers. That was on August 5th. On August 5th, the fire department was authorized or approved by the city council. We approved your $13,000 request. Even though you didn't have a list of repairs, it was this arbitrary number, et cetera. And then 16 days later, on August 21st, you send out a request for an additional $388.84 because you expended out $13,000 in 16 days, where 16 days before you had no idea what type of repairs were going to be needed. So this is particularly frustrating to me, that not only did you go through the $13,000... I didn't, sir. Then what are you asking me for another $388 for?
That $13,000 was for started this month, going for the next year. This is last year's bid. So between the time when we had the meeting and today, I had an invoice that was outstanding for a job that was being done on Station 9. So this is for last year's. So that $13,000 for the next, this fiscal year is still intact.
So you're saying fiscal year ended, which isn't in this information. You're saying that fiscal year ending June 31st or 30th,
right, this is
the invoice you're talking about now for $1,252.19 that we're just hearing about now was actually expensed in June?
No, it was in August, but it was prior to the new bid taking over. So it was in the last bid, but I didn't receive it yet. So when we started the new bid, when I came before you, that was $13,000 going forward for next year, or this current year we're in. And when we got the invoice, we're $300 short on this one. So it's not, we didn't spend, we still have $13,000 in that fund. So last year we actually spent $13,388.
When was this work done?
It was done in July.
In the new fiscal year?
In the new fiscal year. But it was under the old bid award.
The old bid award expired when?
Last week, on the 31st.
And the $13,000 that we just awarded you, you're saying?
That's to cover us to next September.
Covers us till next September. Well, I'm not clear on that language. And in addition to that, I'm going to be moving to hold this bid because there's a few concerns that I have. In the bid says the hourly rate, regular hourly rate with for two technicians is $168. The invoice that I'm looking at calls for 3 hours of labor at $179. It's not what we agreed to. And it also says that the pot's discount from list price is 30%. Well, I don't see any list price here. And I'm sure you recall some time back that there were other items that were being bid, and the bids were being awarded because someone was given a higher discount. And this committee strongly objected to that. Over the objection of certain department heads, we required those bids to go back out, and we wanted to see what the list prices were to reflect on what the discount is. And we don't have that here. So the reason I'm holding this is because I need to get a clearer explanation on that contract information, and I want a list, or I want a new invoice from overhead doors, and this isn't going to be just for the fire department, this is going to be for all departments.
That's fine, sir.
I want a list showing what the list price was for everything they did. I want to see what the discount was and what the net amount is. Because when I look at this invoice, I don't know if $168, or let's back up, I don't know if a 2-inch cone at $17.82, I don't know if that's net of the 30 or before the 30, because it doesn't tell us. And that's our responsibility as a finance committee to make sure that we have that documentation before we go spend taxpayer dollars. This invoice, has this invoice been paid, by the way?
I don't believe, I'd have to check with the secretary to see which one was paid.
Okay, well, yeah, I'd like to know that, because the terms of this agreement with this company says net 10 days. So net 10 days is going to be like August 10th. We're almost, right now, we're at September 5th. So I need to know if the invoice is paid and what the date was that it was paid.
Okay.
Need a PCR on this, please?
139.18.
139.18. The other thing I want to know, Chief, is when, Chief?
Yes, sir.
I also want to know how many technicians they had working on this.
Is that the invoice number 198453591?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Okay.
And I also, that's the invoice date. I don't see anything on here that indicates the day
It was received.
that the work actually took place.
Oh, they were done.
So
Okay.
we want to know that as well. Any other questions or comments from members of the committee? Any comments, questions from members of the council, members of the public? Hearing none, need a motion to hold.
Motion to hold PCR 13918.
Seconded.
Want to do the...
Let's hold until, Chief, you should be able to have that for us for the next meeting, right?
September 17th. Motion to hold is September 17th.
Seconded.
Thank you. We have a motion to hold till September 17th. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. 2018-31 frames, grates, covers, found on page 17. Hi, Christy.
Good evening.
How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Good.
This department's requesting to increase the award on this bid, $2,500 for a total of $9,500 for the purchase of frames, grates, and covers.
Christy, what's left in that account right now?
Right now, we have $2,577.02.
2,577?
02.
Okay. So, when this bid came before us, did the department do an inventory of what you have, what you don't have, and what you need?
This bid started in March of this year, March 21st, in fact.
Correct.
We spent $1,075.56 in May of the $7,000 cap. And then,
No, I understand. That's not the question, though. The question was, when this bid originally came to us, you came to us requesting $7,000 for a one-year period
correct.
for frames and covers and grates. So one would assume that you had projected out what you had for inventory on hand and what you were going to use over the next year to come out with 7,000. I'm sure nobody just said, okay, let's go for $7,000 and take it from there.
We do
And-
keep, sorry.
And here we are less than 5 months into this contract, and we've used up the lion's share of this amount, and we're looking to increase it by another $2,500. That's a 35% increase over your original bid. So I'm just kind of trying to wrap my arms around, how does this happen?
So we keep a limited inventory in the yard. When we have a job to do, we have, depending on the size, we have it in the yard. We don't stockpile these. It can get pricey. We have a specific line item in the highway budget that is funded at $7,000 each fiscal year. So when the bid was awarded, we asked for that $7,000. We spent $1,075 in May. We just purchased almost $6,000 worth of material. We have a substantial amount of work orders right now that are outstanding of issues that have been discovered, particularly over the last month and a half or so, for frames and covers that need to be replaced. So not only are we asking for $2,500, at some point, probably within the next couple of months or maybe just after the winter, we're going to have to transfer money into this account and request additional spending authority because we have so many that need to be repaired.
So do we know how many we have to repair now?
Approximately 40.
How many did we repair last year?
I couldn't answer that.
The reason I'm asking is because you said it can get very expensive to inventory.
No, it can get expensive to purchase them.
Expensive to purchase them, okay.
Right. So if you look, I think in your bid package on page 21, it tells you the price for each item. So depending on what we need, typically we use item 1, and then we use items 9 and 10. But if I need to buy 8 of item 1, I'm looking right there alone at $2,500. So.
But I'm just kind of thinking, from the general business perspective, that volume creates discount. Requires inventory, but typically volume will generate additional discounts. So I'm just thinking now, based upon what you said, if you have a reasonably good idea as to, say, over the last 5 years, well, we know for sure we use 10 of this and 20 of that and 10 of this. I'm just thinking that maybe next time you go out for bid, if you had something like that, maybe you might want to give it a shot and bid. If we buy, how much is it going to cost us if we take this, this, and this? Because typically in business, when you order by volume, would everybody please shut off their phones, please? Councilman Howell, was this yours?
Yeah, I'm afraid it was.
We can save some money.
Well, this particular commodity is also made of steel.
Sorry?
They're made of steel, so it's a little bit of a volatile market for that as well. So right now, being locked into the prices that we have,
No, I get it.
fortunate.
And sometimes you need to know how to play the market, too. As an example, many, many years ago, when we had that hurricane, and there was, you couldn't steal a sheet of plywood because there was no plywood around. And before the hurricane hit, plywood was selling for like $13 a sheet. When the hurricane was rolling up the coast, I put in a call, and I don't know, it was like 300 or 400 sheets of plywood that I bought for like $13 a sheet, and plywood scooted up to $36 a sheet in a very short period after the hurricane. So, yeah, I understand that steel does the same thing, particularly byproducts of petroleum, et cetera. Just a suggestion on possibly how we can save some money. Any questions from members of the committee?
I have one.
Sir.
Very quickly, Chrissy, is the, you mentioned that there's about 40 estimate that need to be repaired. What's been the average over the last, let's say, 5 years, the previous 5 years?
I honestly don't, I couldn't answer that.
Okay.
I mean, I could, it would be a little bit time consuming. I mean, I could hunt and see what we've actually purchased, but
this is pretty high. This is a pretty high volume.
I think we've had some issues that have been, you know, they're just now rearing their ugly head where
Right.
we don't have a choice. We have to fix it. It's a hazard.
Was there usually a surplus in this account in the past?
Not much of one, if there is one. We usually
Okay.
expend the bulk of it.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, and you, once again, just to repeat, you anticipate you may have to come before the council again for an additional increase.
I don't even anticipate. I can tell you without a doubt that I will be back. The other thing I just wanted to mention as well is that we do have stormwater stuff that we need to keep moving on, and some of the materials that we need for those projects are part of this as well.
The reason I wanted to put that on the record is that in January, February, if you come back for more money for this and I start squawking, you can just remind me that you already talked to us about it. Any questions from members of the council? Any questions from members of the committee? Any questions from members of the public? Hearing none, need a motion?
Move for favorable action.
We have a motion for favorable. We have, say what? Okay, PCR?
PCR 14018.
Oh, yes, I had my note right there. Thank you very much for reading my notes. You guys reading over my paperwork. Okay. Thank you. PCR 14018, we have a motion for favorable. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. (2019-039) OPEB actuarial, found on page 24. That's like asset forfeiture. It's one of them tongue twisters. All right, Brian, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before you this evening is a recommendation to rescind the award that was previously, this was previously awarded at the second meeting in June to Jefferson Solutions for the city's OPEB valuation contract. This was for the years 2019 through 2021. I'm sorry, this was a four-year contract. This is
June 30, 18 through June 30, 21.
21, okay, I have that, okay. Previous award amount was $4,996. This is, the recommendation to rescind is due to the fact that the vendor contacted both myself and a representative from the purchasing division requesting that, or stating that without a waiver to the city's required certificate of good standing from the state, that they would decline the engagement.
Brian, we had met earlier today about this, and it's particularly disturbing to me that this has occurred with Jefferson Solutions. And I became more aggravated after you and I talked about it, and you presented me this letter from Jefferson Solutions as to why they were withdrawing their bid.
Yes.
In my opinion, based upon what I see here, this is extremely irresponsible of this Jefferson Solutions. We put out an RFP. And in the RFP, we state the parameters of what we're expecting the vendors to bid on. And everybody gets the same RFP.
Correct.
And they're relatively clear. And this vendor bid on this. And the bid came into us, and we certainly had the right, and we did, receive this bid in good faith.
Correct.
And we had the right to expect them to fulfill the requirement of the bid based upon the RFP. Well, they chose to make the determination that they were not going to register with the Secretary of State's office for a certificate of good standings. For whatever business reasons they chose to do that is beyond me, because it's a nickel-dime item.
Yes.
And to further add insult to injury, they send this letter to you, or email, and here's what it says. I'm going to read the whole letter, because I think the taxpayers need to know, and I think department heads need to know, so that when we have vendors pulling this kind of stuff, you'll know what to look at. It says, the City of Warwick and public schools have been a long-standing client with our firm since 2009. I have been working diligently on obtaining a letter of good standing from the Secretary from the state of Rhode Island. Filing fees with my home state in Rhode Island, along with annual filing fee and tax requirements in Rhode Island, and making the engagement with the city cost prohibitive. Nickel dimes. This is where I got particularly annoyed. In reviewing the bid specifications, we interpreted the language may be required to be an optional and discretionary requirement to the bid. Since we have a long-standing relationship with the city, we had assumed that this requirement would be waived. Well, you know what happens when you assume? You also assume the risk of being wrong. And their interpretation of this requirement of may be required as optional and discretionary, they really need to take a look at who is reading and interpreting the bid. Because our bid is very, very clear. And here's the language in our RFP. It says that corporation, company, or legal entity shall, there is no may, there is no subjective, there is, oh, please be so kind as to. It says, shall provide to the purchasing agent a certificate of good standing from the Rhode Island Secretary of State dated no more than 30 days prior to the date upon which the bid award was made. It doesn't get any clearer.
It does not.
It's very clear. This is a bunch of crap.
Yes.
And because of this type of situation, what they're pulling here, because they don't want to spend a few bucks to comply with a bid that they agreed was here, they understood, they bid it, we accepted it in good faith. Now it's going to cost the taxpayers an extra $6 grand. I think that's a good reason to be aggravated. So we go from $4,996, now we get pushed up to $11,800. Well, I know I have every intention of having a discussion with our legal counsel to see what footings that we have as a city to look to recoup damages. So, having said that, Brian, do you know if the school committee is continuing to use Jefferson Solutions?
They will. They have awarded to Jefferson Solutions. They follow the city. So once the city awarded the contract in the second meeting in June, it was awarded by the school committee. I have been in touch with the business manager there, or Mr. Ferrucci, and informed him that we would be recommending a rescind and a re-award. He said to just once it is done that they would take the same action.
Okay. Would you reach out to Mr. Ferrucci and have him provide the Finance Committee with that intent to rescind and follow the suit or the position of the city?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Any other questions from members of the committee? Any questions, comments from members of the council? Any questions from members of the public? Hearing none, I need a motion to rescind.
Move for favorable action.
Second.
We have a motion to rescind. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And thank you, Brian, for, bringing me up to speed on some of this stuff. I appreciate it. 2019-039B, OPEB actual evaluation found on page 32. I'm sorry, 33. Go ahead, Brian.
Yes, before this evening now is the re-award to the next lowest bidder and now our recommended bidder of Danziger and Markov. Total award for the same term is $11,800. I would like to point out, in addition to that, that we have already received the certificate of good standing from the state of, from the state of Rhode Island, so they are already in compliance. They were happy to do so. So again, the city is looking to recommend this to Danziger and Markov.
My compliments to that company and whoever they have reviewing the RFPs and submitting the bids. Obviously, they're in touch and in tune with what's going on. Any other questions from members of the committee? Any questions from the council? Any questions from members of the public? Hearing none, need a motion.
Move for favorable action.
Seconded.
We have a motion for favorable. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
2019-76, Stalker Dual
Good evening,
Radar
Major Rathman from the Police Department.
Detectors. Welcome back, Major.
Thank you, Chairman.
Found on page 42, by the way.
In August, the Police Department went out to bid for 12 radar units for the Patrol Division. The bid request was for Stalker brand vehicle-mounted radar units. 4 vendors bid on the radars, and we're recommending the bid be awarded to Applied Concepts doing business as Stalker Radar. The Police Department currently uses Stalker radar units provided by Applied Concepts, and the Municipal Police Academy trains and certifies our officers using that brand of radars. We have a long-standing experience with the company since 1997. Our agency uses the product because it's an industry standard throughout not only the state but the region, including the multiple municipal and state police agencies that use the Stalker brand. The Police Department is seeking to add these 12 units to the patrol fleet to fill a need for additional radars to aid in our speed enforcement program and efforts throughout the city. We last purchased 5 new radar units in 2015, again using grant funding at that time. This request to bid is the final step in a multi-year plan using available JAG-burn grant funding. The agency's speed enforcement program requires radar equipment that is properly functioning to ensure violations are not only court defensible, but fair to the motoring public. These units will allow us to meet all the court requirements for any violations resulting from their use. If approved, the funding for the 12 new Stalker radars not to exceed $25,230. Payment would be $24,146 would come from the budget code 33,356. That's the final balance from the 2016 JAG-burn grant funding that's available. The remainder of $1,084 would come from service contracts, budget code 30-340.
Major, I do have some concerns with this. One of them I had discussed with the council president earlier this morning, and it's in the comments where it says, additionally, Stalker radars are the industry standard, are widely used by law enforcement agencies in Rhode Island, including the Rhode Island DOT, and all of our officers have been trained on this model.
That's correct, sir.
And I'm thinking about that and maybe even overthinking it, and I'm saying, okay, so how much training is required to use a radar detector? And this is not just to put on the record, but this is for everyone here who's in the room and who's listening, for everyone's benefit. Councilman Marola pointed out to me that training on these type of devices is very, very important when an issue arises and whether or not people are trained or not trained. So I can see where you're coming from with respect to that training issue.
Yes, sir.
Where I have the questions, it's stated in here that the actual price that will be paid to Applied Concepts after deduction of the optional equipment will be $25,230, the lowest qualified bid.
Yes, sir.
I don't see anything in my package here that tells me what, or shows me where this $50 was included in the optional bid prior to netting out the number of $25,230. So I would like to see that. The other thing is, in your position paper, you say the new units will be a permanently mounted system which will alleviate and reduce the wear and tear on the individual units by negating their removal from the vehicle each day. Makes sense. I understand it. If it's permanently affixed, you don't have to take it out, you don't have to move it, you don't have to bring it in the station, bring it home, drop it, whatever the case may be. All these things happen. We know that. It says this was a source of irritation and increased service issues for the department. I'm good with all of that.
Yes, sir.
But what I'm not clear on is, having said that they're going to be permanently mounted to alleviate and reduce the wear and tear on individual units. If they're permanently mounted, not being removed, taken in the house, the station, on, wherever they're doing, then why do we need to pay $80 for 12 hard carrying cases?
We're not going to.
Sorry?
We're not going to purchase the hard cases.
Perfect. So that's coming off the bid.
Correct.
So we have $960 off the $25,230.
Yes, sir.
For a net amount.
Yes, sir.
All right. What is the net amount? Do you know offhand? I'll tell you in a flash. My brain's working slow, so I can't do it in my head today. $24,270.
The reason that that shows on it, it was in the original bid, and because it was in the original bid, we needed to keep it on as the bids came in, but we had conversation indicating that rather than remove it, because it was part of the bid specifications, after speaking with purchasing, we don't need the hard cases for those, obviously, so those would not be purchased, just to clarify.
I think you made a wise decision. I agree with you. Any other questions? Excuse me,
Mr. Chairman, just to clarify, in reference to that $50 charge, if you go to Applied Concepts, page 11 of their packet, if you look at item number 6, it's under their table. They added 12 remote display.
I don't have a page. I don't have their packet.
I apologize. I thought it was submitted through. I can get this to you, but let me just, if I could read it into, and I'll get this to you first thing in the morning. I'll scan it, make sure you have it. But under their bid and contract form that they provided, they noted under their item 6, 12 remote display interconnect cables at a price of $50. That would not be required as part of the bid specs and not required for operation to include court defensibility and full functional operation of the system.
All right, Counsel, I'm going to, unless you object, I'm going to allow that testimony because it is stipulating to the $50 discount here in our package, so it's already part of the issue. Okay. That's great, Major. Just send that off to us tomorrow.
I'll get it out first thing in the morning, get everybody.
Thank you. So I need a PCR.
That's PCR 141, 18, 141, sorry, 141.
PCR 14118?
That's right, sir.
Got it. Okay, so the PCR, the amendment is going to be to reduce the award amount to $24,270. Feel free to double check my math. And the reason being that item number 4, the hard carrying case, is going to be withdrawn from the bid because it's not a necessary item. Any questions from members of the committee? Any questions from members of the council? Any questions from members of the public? Hearing none, I need a motion.
I'll make a motion for PCR 141-18 to reduce the award to $24,270, and I'll move that for favorable action.
Seconded.
We have a second. We have a motion. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Council, do we need a separate motion to amend, or is what we did? Okay. Make me a recommendation for favorable action as amended.
Move for favorable action as amended.
Seconded.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. 2019-79, found on page 51.
Again, in August, the police department went out to bid for miscellaneous police gear and equipment. The bid request was for 17 issued equipment items. 8 vendors bid on the equipment listed, and we recommended the bid be awarded to 2 of the 8 vendors. Jurek Brothers Incorporated out of Greenfield, Mass., and Lawman Shooter Supply out of Vero Beach, Florida. The reason for the split in the bid, or awarding to the 2 different vendors, is to ensure that we're able to purchase all of the items listed from the bid request, as neither company independently could provide all 17 items. If approved, funding would not exceed $14,000 for the bid. It would come from Budget Code 30-260, miscellaneous police gear and uniforms. Items purchased are on an as-needed basis, and no inventory is maintained by the police department. Contract period will run from 10/25/18 through 10/24/2019. That's through the remainder of this current fiscal year and into fiscal year 2020.
Thank you, Major. I'd also like to point out, too, that the police department has consistently been coming to us within the time frame of the contract renewals. And again, this evening, we're experiencing the same thing. So thank you for that, Major. I appreciate that cooperation. Typically, I'm not a fan of splitting the bids. I did read your information. I understand why in this case it's necessary, and I don't have an issue with it. Any questions from members of the committee? Any questions from members of the council? Any questions from members of the public? Hearing none, need a motion.
Move for favorable action.
Seconded.
Have a motion for favorable. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. 2019-084, found on page 56.
In August, the police department went on bid for police badges and insignias. The bid was request for 8 issued equipment items. 5 vendors bid on the equipment listed, and we're recommending the bid be awarded to Rhode Island Uniform out of Johnston, Rhode Island. This vendor was the lowest bidder out of 4 of the 8 items. And based on a cost analysis of the number of different items and anticipated purchase per item, we believe it would be best to limit the award to 1 vendor versus splitting this bid. Of the 4 items that they are the lowest on, those are the items that we purchase the most. An example would be the rank insignia and badge numbers for the officers who wear it on their uniform on a daily basis. If approved, the funding would not exceed $7,500 for the bid. It would come from Budget Code 30-262 badges. The contract period is from 10/25/18 through 10/24/2019, and again would go into next fiscal year, just as a note.
Okay. Also, too, for members of the committee and members of the council, I just want to let you know that Joanne has run the numbers. I failed to mention it earlier on all of the budget code requirements, and there's adequate monies in all of them. Okay, so I'm not going to go through every one of them. Major, how much did you use in this category last year? How much money was
In
spent?
fiscal year 2018, we spent $4,121. The previous fiscal year was $6,476, Chairman.
I'm sorry, repeat last year again?
Fiscal year 18 was $4,121. And then in 17 fiscal year, just to give you a point of reference, was $6,476. Again, these items are not maintained on hand. They're often required based upon specific insignia numbers or rank, based upon promotion and hiring of new officers. So we don't have, we have some projections, but we don't maintain it on inventory. We do it as needed purchase based upon requirements.
I'm sorry, the last year's numbers was 6,000 what?
In 17, 6,476.
Okay.
And then fiscal year 18 was 4,121.
Okay. Any questions from members of the committee? Any questions from members of the council? Any questions or comments from members of the public? Hearing none, need a motion.
Move for favorable action.
Seconded.
A motion favorable, we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. $2019-85, found on page 59. Motor oil, hydraulic, and transmission fluid. Go ahead, Christie.
The three departments are requesting to award to the vendors as noted in the bid package for a total amount of $50,500 for a one-year period.
So, Christie, I have some questions. We'll start with safety clean for the police department. You're recommending item 4, and from what I'm seeing here from item 4 is that Burke is $307 for 55-gallon drum, and safety clean is $340. Why would we want to pay $340 when we can get it for $307?
When you look at the bulk delivery, which we don't do 55-gallon drum, we do bulk delivery, the price per gallon is cheaper under bulk delivery for safety clean. So we don't get 55-gallon drum. We have, and I apologize, I can get you the total capacity of our bulk delivery storage unit, but we don't get it in drums. We get it delivered to that master unit as part of a per gallon price versus the 55-gallon drum price.
So why don't you get a 55-gallon drum?
I don't have an answer for that. I can look into it. I know that the system is set up for bulk delivery. It's an overhead system above the maintenance bay areas. So it's filled through that process, and the storage container is built into that. So it has hoses that are in the ceiling mounted above the bays. So I don't know if the ability to lift the 55-gallon drums, or we'd have to have a pump system consistent with that, would be based upon visually looking at the system. It would require some way to transfer from the 55-gallon drum, which we currently don't have.
Like they do at Valvoline or Auto Spa or any of those places that change oil. This stuff is all up in the
Correct.
ceiling. So they have to have a mechanism of getting it from a 55-gallon barrel up to there.
Correct.
So are you saying that the police department literally dumps gallons of oil into whatever's up there?
Upon delivery, it's pumped in. I don't know
Pumped in.
the concept of how, whether it's pumped from the drum per se, or what the capacity is upon what's delivered and what's stored. I can get that for you, but I know it isn't a conventional system where a 55-gallon drum is floor mounted. This is an overhead system.
So you guys, you change your own oil, is that it?
We change our oil and we do some back charges for other city departments also.
And how much oil in the course of a year, in terms of gallons, how much do you go through?
I don't have gallons. I have our expenditure totals in dollars for the last 2 fiscal years. I can give you that. I can look into getting the gallons for you.
So what to do is give me the number for last year. How many gallons last year?
I don't have gallons. I have the dollar amount.
Sorry, how many dollars?
$2,500.
$2,500. I'm going to use 465, which I think is being conservative because it's higher now than it was then. So you use 537 gallons of oil.
And I have fiscal year 17 also. That's 2831. So we're consistent around that $2,500 mark. I can look into checking between back charges as well as in-house use in terms of maintenance records, but it would be a little bit to give you but I did have the dollar figures for you.
What I'm looking at, Major, based upon these numbers, is you just convinced me that if it's working for you the way it's working, and you don't have to incur the labor of an officer or whomever to have to transfer the oil from a 55-gallon drum up into something else to save $240 over the course of the year, I'm okay with that. I just need to have the numbers in my head so I can
Yes,
get
sir.
clear on it. Any questions from members of the committee? Any questions from members of the council? Any questions from members of the public? Hearing none. Oh, sorry, we're not done. We're okay with police. Fire. Chief?
Yes, sir.
So tell me, why is item 17, that's oil, right? Diesel exhaust fluid. So what is diesel exhaust fluid?
So all the new diesel vehicles coming out now, they have to have this, what it does is adds to it when it burns, and it makes the exhaust fumes cleaner for the environment. So it's a separate tank, and it has to be added to it. Now, the old units don't have it, but we currently have four vehicles that require it.
Would that be something like How's diesel fuel conditioner? Would it be something like that, do you know?
I'm not sure. Okay. It doesn't mix with it. It's a separate tank, so it kind of like injects it.
All right.
Exhaust.
So obviously it's not gasoline.
No.
So my question to you is, why are you looking to purchase $1,000 of this diesel exhaust fluid on your gasoline account?
It's in our oil account. That's all we have. We don't have an oil account.
You don't have any other account for vehicle maintenance or?
No, it comes out of our diesel account, our diesel and gasoline. That's all we have for oil.
You don't have an automotive account?
No,
Okay.
that comes out of repair.
And I'm looking at the bids. First of all, how do you take the delivery and what containers?
It's a case is 2.5 gallon containers.
Okay.
And what we do is that we'll distribute them to the stations that have the vehicles so they can add it whenever it's low.
Okay, so you do purchase the 2.5 gallon containers.
Correct.
And explain to me the difference between Industrial Oil's bid of $9.99 and Burke's bid of $15.49.
The $9.99 is for one 2.5 gallon container, and the other one is it's $15 for a case, which is two.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Appreciate that answer. So in the end, they are cheap. Any questions from members of the committee? Any questions from members of the council? Any questions from members of the public? Hearing none, need a motion.
Move for favorable action.
Seconded.
We have a motion favorable. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Chief. Oh, I'm sorry. Forget all that. Christie, don't let me forget about you. You're hiding back there. I saw you. We cancel that. That's canceled. DPW. So, Christie, we have some questions with yours on Dennis Burke. You're looking to award them 468, and you're looking to award them 10 and 17, items 10. So item 10, like this is just a humongous difference between the two. And I don't know, you need to tell me why we need to do this. So you're looking to award item number 10, synthetic transmission fluid. You're looking to award it to Dennis Burke. And Dennis Burke is $1,629 for a 55-gallon drum delivered, and Safety Clean is $555 for a 55-gallon drum delivered.
That's correct. The reason that we awarded to Dennis Burke, because there was such a discrepancy in the prices between the vendors, we called the vendors that bid lower to find out what their synthetic transmission fluid is. It's not suitable for our Allison engines, which is The sanitation trucks, the fire trucks, the dump trucks, they all have this Allison, it's an Allison transmission actually. And the product that the other vendors bid is not suitable for those heavy-duty engines, which is why we're requesting to award that item to Dennis K. Burke, because that is actually the Allison transmission fluid.
So who is saying that this multi-vehicle Performance Plus is not working in those transmissions? Who's
It's
saying
not
that?
suitable for the transmissions, no.
Who said?
I'm sorry?
Who said?
I actually went over this with our automotive chief, and he made the phone calls to the vendors, and
do you have something from the vendors that say, from which vendor? Are you telling me that Safety Clean said that this multi-vehicle transmission fluid for 1/3 the price isn't suitable for the transmissions that we have? Is Safety Clean saying that, or is the manufacturer of that synthetic transmission fluid saying that?
I took this bid, when I was reviewing it, I took this bid to the automotive chief and said, I need you to call the vendors, and because I don't know the specifics about the transmission fluid itself. That is proper for our vehicles. I asked him to call the vendors to find out, because there was such a price discrepancy, what the difference was with what they were going to provide as to what Burke was going to provide. We have a history with Burke. That's their usual bid. They bid the transmission fluid that we use. So he called the vendors, and they had said that it is not the Allison transmission fluid. It's a multi-vehicle, which means you could put it in. You could probably use it in something different, but it's not suitable for our vehicles in the transmissions that we have. So for us to use something that's not suitable is not going to help our situation with our fleet, and we'll just end up with very expensive repairs.
What does Allison Transmission say?
I didn't call the manufacturer.
So I'm curious to know what Allison Transmission says, is if this is suitable for their transmission, because we have one vendor saying yes and we have another vendor saying no. There's a big difference there, Christy. I'm not doubting that your automotive chief made those calls, but before I can vote on something that is 3 times as expensive as the alternate, I need to have something in my hands saying, and it's unfortunate that it wasn't included on our package tonight, because this would have been simple, but I need something in my hands from somebody, particularly that transmission company, saying this ain't going to work in our transmissions, and if you use it, you're going to have transmission problems. I just need something to hang my hat on, so when somebody calls me and says, what's wrong with you? You're awarding something that's 3 times as expensive? I need that. Number 17, item number 17. You folks are looking also to go with Burke on that. Okay, got it. I understand that. Industrial oil, items 7 and 15. You want to award those to industrial oil. So why do you want to split the bid on that, Christy, where Safety Clean has the lion's share of it? There's just a negligible difference between, on item 12, between industrial...
What item? You said 7 and 15.
I'm sorry, on number 15. No, number 7. Number 7, you're correct.
Industrial oil was the low bidder on that item.
Okay. Well, gentlemen, on item number 15, there is no difference between industrial oil and safety clean. There's no difference. So I don't see any reason for splitting that bid. And on item number 7, the difference is, it's hydraulic ISO 46. The difference is $10 for a 55-gallon barrel. Christie, how much of that hydraulic ISO do you guys use?
I couldn't answer that.
Matt, any idea? The mic?
That would depend on the amount of lines that break. It's totally dependent on the age of the vehicle. We could go for a couple of days without using it, and we could, we could expend quite a bit, especially with the trash trucks and the one-on bandits.
Gentlemen,
so again, with a lot of these items, it's hard to define a quantity as to what you're going to use unless you're out there and something happens to blow up.
Matt, the reason that we challenge these type of multi-awards is because in doing our homework over the last year and a half to year and 9 months, is we have gotten feedback from vendors that that's one of the reasons why they're not bidding, is because we cherry pick the bids. And some of the vendors will bid 29 cents for something, and it's basically a lost leader, and they don't get any action on anything else. So they become discouraged and they stop bidding. I think that you've seen, since you've been over on the city side now, that the activity in bidding has increased significantly. A lot more vendors are participating. There seems to be a different attitude out there with vendors, and one of the reasons is because we're not awarding bids to a half a dozen different vendors, and somebody ends up with one little thing that they're not making any money on. So this is why all of this is. So I'll put it to discussion for my colleagues on the committee. What's your pleasure? You're looking at $10 for the difference in a 55-gallon barrel, and adding on another vendor, and Safety Clean has the lion's share of this already. Talk to me.
Yeah, but I think we should be consistent. We've been doing that, as you said. Instead of splitting it, we want to encourage more companies to bid, and that company might be lower on that one particular thing, but it's not lower enough significantly to add another one, and then they're, they might not bid in the future if they're only going to get.
Correct. Yeah. Councilman Howe, you feel the same?
I absolutely feel the same, Chairman. And as you said, a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago, when we sat down, there was a lot of discussion on the bid process and the phone calls that you've made, the phone calls that have been made to the bidders, and we've just got to kind of flex with the times, and I would agree with what you said. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from members of the council? Any questions from members of the public? I need a motion to, sorry?
Motion to reconsider.
Yeah, motion to reconsider the recommendation.
So moved.
We have a motion to reconsider. We have a second?
Well,
All in favor?
Aye.
We are now going to assign it PCR 14218, and I need a motion to amend. And the motion to amend will take industrial oil off and add those two items, number 7 and number 15, to Safety Clean. So I've made the motion. I need a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. (2019) 114 Municipal City Annual Software, found on page 69. Sir. Oh, Christie, yes, thank you. Christie, please.
What was the PCR, please, Mr. Chairman? Thank you.
All right, so, Bill, I don't want to hold up this entire bid, but I don't like number 10. So,
Separate it to its own PCR
okay,
and hold it to the next meeting? Would be one alternative?
for item number 10? I have the mic.
Do you want that on mic?
Well, somebody's going to figure out what we're going to do about item number 10.
Item number 10, that's the one where it's more, but our automotive people are saying we need that particular oil for our trucks.
That's correct. And it's 3 times the cost. And I don't have a problem with what they're saying. I need documentation. Because if I'm going to approve something that is 3 times the cost to the taxpayers, I need something that I'm going to be able to say, hey, here it is. Here's what the department head said. Here's what the department said. And here's what the manufacturer of the transmission said. Reasonable?
So, I do agree with you, but
Okay.
in talking to a couple of the guys in our yard, and from my own experience,
In the mic, Matt, please.
in talking to different people, Jay Bastien in the yard is familiar with the mechanics, and the Allison transmission, I believe, has a special additive that is not general purpose transmission fluid like Safety Clean had put forth. So I'm sure that's where the 3 times difference comes from. So if you have like a Dextron 2 transmission fluid, it's specially made for a Ford. Chevy has their own, Allison has their own. So the older vehicles might be able to use a multi-purpose transmission fluid, but I believe what John Needham says is that this is specific for these motors, for these transmissions. And if we put something else in, the tranny blows up and they test it and it doesn't have the special additives in it, then we're on the hook for it. A lot of these vehicles are still under warranty and as such require this special transmission fluid. I know you don't have it in writing, but I can certainly supply you with that tomorrow.
Matt, I'm not disputing what you're saying. I'm not questioning what you're saying. I'm not challenging what you're saying. I'm taking a defensive mode for this finance committee and for myself as chair, and we answer to the taxpayers.
Absolutely.
And to go to your point, I have purchased vehicles over the years, and the manufacturer says that you have to use synthetic oil, which is twice the cost of regular oil.
Absolutely.
And when I ask them to provide me with something in writing that says they will not warranty that engine if I use something other than synthetic oil, they failed to do so.
Okay.
Now, maybe that analogy isn't equal to the wear and tear on your vehicles. I don't know. But I just want to be clear. I'm not disputing or challenging or questioning anything you or Christie are saying.
Yep.
I'm saying it should have been in the package. There's a significant difference. It should have been in the package so we wouldn't have to have all this conversation and have this issue, because we need to have documentation to back up you guys and to back up us when the
Fair enough.
taxpayers say, what is wrong with you?
Okay.
Nothing's
Fair
wrong
enough.
with us. Here it is. The manufacturers of the transmission said, use something different, transmission blows up, now it's going to cost you 40 grand or whatever it is for tranny.
Okay.
We agree?
Fair enough.
Good. Okay, Counselor, tell me how to do this.
One option, we can let the bid move is right now, we'll figure out the amount or how to adjust it, because right now it's a recommendation from the committee. So, but when we formally do it on the floor, we can have the proper motion on this.
Okay, so right now, we're going to stick with PCR 142-18 as amended, and we will take up item number 10 on the council floor. Okay. 29, thank you. 2019-114. Found on page 69. Municipal City Annual Software.
Lynn Paglarini, City Clerk's Office. Come before you this evening to ask permission to pay our Curia Systems bill for the year, our annual contract.
Okay. Lynn, you heard me say a few moments ago to the Major that the police department has been doing their due diligence to come before us in a timely fashion on these bids. But yet, we continue to see other departments continuously just disregard that. And the department heads just say, whatever, sole source vendor, we got to do it anyways. Well, maybe we don't have to do it anyways. But to me, this is becoming frustrating because we've been talking about this for a very long time. And you just happen to be at the podium now, Lynn. I'm sorry, you're the one there.
No,
it's not just your department. This is other departments. And we will need to address this problem. In one manner or another, we're going to have to address this problem.
I wish I had a better explanation for you, except for that the expiration of the contract just got by me.
We're going to have to work on this because this is just very annoying. And it's actually, by the way, it's in violation of a city ordinance.
Yes, sir.
Any further questions from members of the committee? Any questions from members of the council? Any questions from members of the public? Hearing none, I need a motion.
Move for favorable action.
Second. We have a motion for favorable. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
2019-115, found on page 73. Major Rathburn?
The police department is seeking authorization under the provisions of City Ordinance 56-6 to make expenditures for police undercover operations. This exception to notice is requested in order not to compromise any undercover narcotics or vice operations undertaken by the department as part of our ongoing effort to suppress criminal activities throughout the city. If approved, the funding for this expense would be funded through federal asset forfeiture, code 364-0400. It would not exceed $20,000. Vouchers will be prepared each quarter in the amount of $5,000, and the records will be maintained in the Special Operations Group with a double accounting procedure for someone to verify the information.
That's one of those tongue twisters, Major.
Yes,
this
sir.
Asset forfeiture thing. Yeah, I know. That's what I was fine. I say, let me hear you say that 3 times quick. That's what happens when you go on vacation.
Understood.
Major, I'm not going to ask any questions. I don't think my colleagues will. We understand it's an undercover issue. Certain things just obviously are not going to be talked about. One question. What did you spend in that amount last year?
Just give me 1 second, Chairman.
Sure.
I can get the firm figure for you, but I'm in that estimate of 17,000 based upon where we were. Some of it was driven by specific operations, and some of it is actually maintained within those files. So one thing I did mention is that the number and amount is verified by the Special Operations Sergeant, and then one of the detective supervisors not directly affiliated with supervision maintains basically the log and roster and banknote to make sure that they verify the funding is accounted for. So approximately 17, I can get you that information, but I'd have to go through those records, and that person is not immediately available to give me that right now, sir.
Okay. Any questions from members of the committee? Questions from members of the council? Questions from members of the public? Hearing none, I need a motion.
Move for favorable action.
Second. We have a motion for favorable. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
2019-117, found on page 75, replace harnesses. Hello, Matt.
Councilman?
Welcome back.
Thanks.
Okay. Matt, I just have technical questions on this. So tell me, this says the department requires having the hammers on the rotor removed and replaced on the horizontal grinder. What is this piece of equipment? Tell me what this thing is.
This piece of equipment, if we have a microburst, if we have trees or any of that, it'll grind up logs, stumps, and reduce all the debris pile down to wood chips and shredded. So just some, I was talking to Jay a little bit ago. Jay Bastine actually runs the grinder. Since we bought this 13 years ago, we haven't done anything to it but for a little general maintenance here and there. So it's more than due for an overhaul. It's currently not running, not functioning, and it's a vital piece of equipment. If we go into hurricane season without it, we'll have to rely on other municipalities, or trying to rent one would be almost impossible, because at that point everyone would be utilizing one. So it's time for an upgrade. I applaud the guys that work in the back.
Matt, sorry, you're going to have to speak a little bit louder. Some of the folks in the back can't hear.
All right. I applaud the...
And members of the public in the audience, if you need to have a conversation, please take it out into the back hall. The acoustics is terrible in this building, and it just creates issues.
I can barely hear you guys, so, yeah.
Oh, I can talk a lot louder.
Oh, I know you can. So it's, you know, it's a compliment to the guys that run the compost facility. This piece of equipment gets utilized all the time. It's 13 years old. They maintain it. Jay treats it like it's his baby. So now it's due for an upgrade. You need to maintain it and then move on. And we want to do this so we don't buy another grinder.
Matt, how much does a new machine cost? No, excuse me. I'm asking a question to Matt. If you want to answer, we need you to come to the mic so it can be on the record.
Okay. Jay, you want to come up? Yeah,
Please,
like I said,
thank you.
Jay's most familiar in the city about this piece of equipment, so I don't want to give you the wrong numbers.
Just state your name for the record, please.
Hi, my name is Jay Bastine.
Okay. And how much would a new machine cost?
Right now, a new machine, the last time they looked at for a bid was $850,000.
Whoa. Whoa. Okay.
See, I would have said 750, but Jay knows better.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
You got my attention. So, obviously, there's a need. I just have a question on the invoice. So it's showing hammer 5-bolt tall. It's got 24 each at 817, and then it has an item 510, 765, 120 at 789. What are these different components? How come there's so many of them? On the mic, please.
Sorry. What it is the hammer that holds the tooth on the mill. Each hammer, there's 24 on the mill. Then on the hammer itself, there's 5 bolts that bolted to the mill that are torqued on. So that's what they think price is for the bolts and the hammers itself.
So is this to say that there's 120 bolts?
Yes.
On that one piece of equipment?
Yes. That's just for the mill.
And they're saying that this is going to require 2 days to fix this piece of equipment?
Yes, it is, sir. I've done it myself, and I've changed 4 of them, and it takes me like a day just to do 4. So they're coming to do the whole mill, which is 24 of them, and they're doing it in 2 days.
Councilman.
Yes. No, I've seen this machine in action. I know around, I think it was Halloween, a number of trees, huge trees fell down in Greenwood, and we saw it get all chopped up, and I was amazed to see it working and stuff like that. And for something that we've really just a little upkeep for 13 years, and then, you know, this is the first time we're investing in it, and a new thing costs $850,000. I think this is a wise investment for the city.
Hopefully you're going to have very little use of it.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
That would be nice.
So with this in mind, 13 years old, and we've done virtually nothing to it, what preventive maintenance do you do to this machine?
Pretty much I do all the oil changes, greasing. The only other thing that we've really done was just change the belts here and there, but other than that, really nothing out of the ordinary.
So this is basically the nuts and bolts, literally, of this machine?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Obviously, It's a wise investment. You need it. Hopefully, you're not going to have to use it a lot. But any questions from members of the committee? Any questions from members of the council? Any questions from members of the public? Hearing none, I need a motion.
Move for favorable action.
Second.
We have a motion for favorable. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. 2019-111, found on page 80, State of Rhode Island Fire Extinguisher Maintenance. Christie?
Department's requesting to piggyback the state bid for fire extinguisher maintenance and repair in the amount of $2,500 until June 30th, 2021.
And when did the MPA get approved by the state?
The MPA was just, I forgot to write down oh my God, I forgot to write down the date. I had done the letter in June, so it was probably not long before that, June 29th date. Got
okay, so the
sidetracked in purchasing, so it didn't make it onto the docket that it should have in July.
Or in August. So this was approved in, the state MPA was approved in June.
Correct.
Okay. So it did not make it onto our bid package in July, and it didn't make it on in August. Is there any particular reason why?
This was totally an error in the purchasing department. One of my staff felt that it was something that would be approved by me and not come to council. When it was reviewed by me, that's when it was determined that it needed to come to full council. So this was totally a purchasing error.
Okay, thank you for that. Any questions from members of the committee? Any questions from members of the council? Any questions from members of the public? Hearing none, need a motion.
Move for favorable action.
Second.
We have a motion for favorable. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on, I need an approval of the minutes from the August 15th meeting.
Move for favorable action.
Motion for favorable. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
PCR 137-18, resolution relative to abatements.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the Finance Committee and Council. I'm going to change up the format a little bit. There was a little bit of discussion last month. But overall, we have $92,380.
Excuse me, what do you mean you're going to change up the format?
Just to explain a little bit of some of the discrepancies in the abatements themselves, if that's okay.
Members of the committee, do you have any objections to change up the format?
Just your presentation, right? Not
correct.
Any of the numbers or anything that came before us.
Correct.
Yeah. Purely exploratory.
Okay. Yeah, just to explain a little bit, last month there was a little bit of discussion. I just want to clarify that a little bit.
Correct. Okay, so
the abatements for the month are $92,380.61. One of the differences this month is a resolution that was passed in 2016. Okay, so that accounts for about $61,000 worth of the abatements this month. In the past, I think, you know, it's just been blanket as if everything was presented for this month, but I just want to, we created some new codes within the system so that we can break them out a little bit differently, and that's the first one. That was basically done based on a potential tax sale of the House of Hope. So the city worked with them and worked out an arrangement. They've satisfied their requirements, and now we have to follow through with the abatement on that. The other thing is Warwick is a little bit unique in the way we process abatements for exemptions. Okay?
Warwick is a little bit what?
Unique.
Unique, okay.
So in most communities, you can apply for an exemption, excuse me, prior to the issuance of the tax bill or of a certain date prior to that. In Warwick, you can apply up until December 15th. okay, after the tax bills have been issued. So what I did is I created a new code so you can see the differences of the exemptions that were applied for after the bills that did not apply before the bills were issued, just so we can see the differential there. Okay. So this month that accounts for about $21,600. So the net new assessment exemption for the abatements is $21,600. So about $9,200 worth of that were new applications. In the prior month, there was about 57% of new applications in last month's abatements.
So, Neil, I did not speak directly to you, but I did speak with some folks in your department. And I'm particularly concerned with this error on Stephen Comedy. That's just one of a bunch of concerns with these abatements. Going back to last month, and here we are again. Last month, we're at 80,300 or something like that, and here we are now coming back with another 92,000. But I'm particularly concerned when I ask, how did this error occur on that particular individual of $5,209? If I remember the numbers correctly, it should have been a tax bill of like $800 and some dollars or something or other, and he was assessed a much higher number. And when our people are asked what happened, we're told, or I'm told, that that was an error by Munis. Well, in my 6+ years on this council, I've seen numerous errors by Munis. And now I'm being told that Munis has no idea how this happened. They have no clue how, let me finish. They have no clue how this occurred. But yet this is the company that we're paying to take care of our books. And it must have been the computer. Well, I'd like to know how they handled things when we were using the Canon string. I didn't get an answer. Munis doesn't know. They write their program. They're this sole source, whatever they consider themselves. And they make this error, but they don't have an explanation, and they're not accountable as to how it occurred. That's one item. The other item that I'm not clear on, and I know you spoke about it briefly, is these abatements for the House of Hope. Because we had approved an abatement, I think it was 2 years ago, for a significant amounts of monies. Is this in addition to that?
I'd have to look back to see what the prior abatement was. That was before my time, so I'm not familiar with that. I will do that. But based on the resolution that was passed, everything was brought and put into that resolution as far as what was outstanding at that time. And as long as they met and made their payments through that resolution, we're required to abate the 2 years of taxes. So I'll have to look back. I have no knowledge of the prior abatement for House of Hope.
I recall, and I was not a supporter of it, at least in theory, that abatement. And it was a lump sum number. And I think it was somewhere around $140,000, $150,000. It was a significant amount of money because, as I recall, there was buildings that were taxed and they shouldn't have been taxed. And it took whatever period of time for someone to all of a sudden discover this error. My concern is now, as I see it, that abatement was done, it was approved, and now we're coming back again. So my concern is, how many times are we coming back to the well for abatements for this particular enterprise, and where is the end? Because as of tonight, I don't see an end. So I'm going to move to hold this entire abatement package until such time as we receive a responsible answer, an explanation, and reason from Munis about that error. And if it means they need to come before this council, I don't have a problem arranging that either. And also an explanation on these abatements for House of Hope. We need to know, when is the end? When does this stop? And right now, we don't.
Okay.
So,
Fair enough.
Motion, excuse me?
Let me, if I can just comment
Sure.
on those two issues. So there's an open ticket with Munis because they did not satisfy my questions on that either. They came back initially after they reviewed it and they asked if we had changed the value on that property, and maybe that happened before we recalculated the file. I explained that that assessment had stayed the same for 3 years. That was not the issue. They're still reviewing the matter. So,
Neil, let me be really clear. There is no doubt in my mind this error did not occur by any action or inaction of our city employees. This is a Munis error without an explanation, without an accountability to the city council and to the taxpayers, and we want one because we're paying them to do the job and we expect them to give us the answers. Our employees have no issue with this at all.
no, I share your concern. I'm going to hold their feet to the fire as well. In addition to this issue, I have 5 other what I call bugs that I reported to them that they initially called enhancements. And I held firm, and they've now admitted that they are in fact bugs, and they will be correcting those before the next tax roll. So I can give you the information on that as well. On the House of Hope, there's what's called an 8% property for apartment buildings. If they meet certain HUD guidelines, they can pay 8% of the gross rental instead of paying the actual tax bill. So that's what these properties fall under. It's not that they shouldn't have been taxed before. They were taxed under the normal process, how any apartment building would be taxed, but they had failed to apply for this preferential treatment. It's not something that comes automatically. They have to apply for it. So I actually have a meeting with them for tomorrow morning because part of this resolution also requires a new assessment going forward, but that assessment will be based on the 8% of the gross rental, which the figures they provided to me to date are not clear. So that's why we have a meeting scheduled tomorrow morning to go over those figures. And at that point, they will be assessed. There'll be a supplemental bill issued to them for the 8% of their actual gross rental income.
Neil, did I understand you correctly to say, in reference to these abatements right here, that they have failed to apply for the tax credit in a timely manner?
Correct, and that was the purpose of the resolution, because they were up for tax sale. And so the administration at the time worked out this resolution and came in front of the council and got that approved.
But are we talking 2 issues? The previous one, which was from year before last, I believe, the reason for that was we forgot to apply for the tax credit. Now we're coming back again for another go at it, and it's another tax credit that they forgot to apply for?
Again, without having been here prior, I have no knowledge on that. So I will research that and get back to you.
Well then, we're going to call this PCR 14318, and we're going to, 144. Oh, I'm sorry, that's right. Okay, got it. We're going to hold this. How long do you think it's going to take you to get this information?
I should have the information prior to the next council meeting, if that works.
Okay, you good with that? You need October 1st, or you good with the September 17th?
September 17th
Done.
should be fine.
Need a motion to hold till September 17th?
Motion to hold PCR 137-18 to September 17th.
Seconded.
We have a motion, we have a second. The reason we're holding this is because we're going to get an explanation, a responsible explanation and accountability from Munis, how that error occurred on that particular abatement. And Neil is going to do the research he needs in order to come up with, you know, what's the deal here with House of Hope and when does this stop? And whether or not this is the second time they did not apply in a timely manner for the tax credits.
Correct.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Neil. Thank you for that information. And by the way, you can thank a couple of your folks in your department for being straight up on this. PCR 9417, Rhode Island Telecommunications Service and Installation. Anyone here from MIS? Is anyone here from MIS? Well, I guess we're going to have to come up with a mechanism for getting someone from MIS to appear before this Finance Committee to answer these questions, because I don't know about you gentlemen, but I'm tired of asking monthly anyone from MIS here, and there's no one here. So obviously someone doesn't care to be here. But we'll find a new mechanism to make sure someone is here. We need a motion to hold until September 17th. Is that our next meeting?
Yeah. Motion to hold September 17th.
Seconded.
We have a motion to hold till September 17th. All in favor? Aye. I'm not going to waste everybody's time on PCR 14817 because there's no one here from MIS to answer these questions. So we're going to hold this until September 17th.
Motion to hold to September 17th.
Seconded.
We have a motion to hold. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
PCR 45-18, medical evaluations for the Warwick Fire Department. Chief, I think I can just probably save us some time. So we have agreed that we're just going to continue to hold this to be sure that healthcare provider, which is Blue Cross, is going to pay for those medical evaluations that your firefighters want.
Well, some of them are mandatory. If I could just for a minute so we can have this discussion, Chairman. Regardless who pays for it, whether Blue Cross picks up the tab or the city does, we have to have a bid in place. We have to have a vendor, because it's not just the yearly physicals, it's also entry-level physicals. So if we were to put a recruit class on, those individuals are going to have to go and have a physical prior to starting the academy. The other thing is, because this is taking a while, we have to get our hazmat technicians their yearly physical. Without them, we could suspend our hazmat team. So I would like to see if we could award the bid, and we can have the discussion on payment prior to sending anybody to the actual physical.
No, I'm not going to award a bid and discuss how we're paying for it later.
The money's there for it.
Chief, this is a brand new spin that you're putting on this issue.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is. Because at the last meeting that this came up, in the meeting before that, we had agreed that in the negotiating process with Blue Cross, that Blue Cross was going to be expected to pay for these evaluations, exams, etc. And at the last meeting, the reason we held it was because of that very same thing. And we said we're going to continue to hold it until such time as something is determined where they're either paying for it and we're done, or they're not paying for it and we're going to have to do something else. And what you're saying to me tonight is different than what happened at the last committee.
I'm saying we need a vendor in place. No matter how we do it, we need a vendor in place.
Okay, good. Okay, so you put a vendor in place, and we're going to hold this until October 1st. We have a vendor in place. You're going to go out for bid? Because if you're going out for a bid, we want to approve the bid.
We've already been out the bid, sir. That's what I'm here.
Then why do you need to go out for a vendor again? A vendor to provide the services?
No, the bid is still good. It was a 3-year bid, so we have good numbers.
What you're asking is for the taxpayers to pay, I think it was $45,000?
$60,000.
$60,000 for these evaluations that I am saying should be paid for by our healthcare provider, because that's what we're paying healthcare premiums for. Our actuary came before this council and said that there is no reason why that couldn't be put into our healthcare plan. And that was testified to at that podium.
I was here, sir.
I know you were there. I didn't say you weren't. So we have a situation where our actuaries say it can be done, it can be included in the healthcare premium. We are not told anything different. We're not told that Blue Cross has refused to do this, and if they are doing it, then we're looking for what the number is. And this is something that should be paid for through healthcare, because I'm not looking to have the taxpayers pay for it twice. So that's where the roadblock comes in, because we need to know what position Blue Cross is taking, because we're told they can in fact put it in the plan, and they have not refused to do so. So perhaps it might be worthwhile for you to get with Blue Cross and the city healthcare actuaries and find out what they're doing with this. So you think that is something that you can have in progress and completed for us?
I'm going to have to reach out to Blue Cross to see how we're going to do it. And, and if they're going to choose a vendor to have it done.
Sorry?
I'm going to see if they have a vendor that's going to complete the physicals.
I agree. I agree. That's what we're paying them for. That's their job. That's not your job. That's not my job. It's not your firefighter's job. That's Blue Cross's job. Let them earn their money. It's their job. They need to come up with a plan that's going to ensure that our firefighters get what they need when they need it, and it's part of the plan. You want me to hold this till September 17th, or you want October 1st? Your pleasure.
I want to do the 17th.
Fine.
See if I can get it done by then.
Okay. And if you need me to work with you on that, or sit with Blue Cross, wouldn't be my first rodeo with Blue Cross.
Okay.
We need a motion to hold till September 17th.
Motion to hold on September 17th.
Seconded.
We have a motion to hold. We have a second. All in favor? Aye. Let the record indicate it is now 6:55, and the Finance Committee is adjourned.
Yeah, go right ahead.
At the last meeting, I told you I'd try to make it clear. Did this help? I put before and after, basically. Yeah. As opposed to just the one number you said you didn't want to do the calculations.
Yeah.
I honestly suspect
Okay.
that.
We're doing the docket as we speak for the next time. I'm going to leave it as this.
Yeah,
If you
I mean,
find
that
there's-
seemed to work.
If you find there's something we can approve,
Sure. Okay.
you let us know.
Okay.
The other thing I'm going to change is if you have one bid.
I got to say something else.
I'm going to have those 3 items for you. A, B, and C.
So it'd be like in succession.
You know what it is, it's charging over there.
I talked to Christie because if we're going to take out that item 10.
No, I didn't get
we
nothing,
have to adjust the
2868595.
number, and she would prefer, her and Matt would prefer to hold DPW in its entirety.
Okay, let's do this.
So
I've already talked to council and they know.
Yes.
Okay, so let me make that change right now.
Bill, so we'll get it written down for you. He's going to talk to you about it, but I just want to let you know that's what we're going to do from now on, make it easier. And he and DPW, we're going to hold the whole thing as opposed to one item.
Yeah, I was not happy with 9/11. That's just crazy.
Yeah, that makes it cleaner.
Anything we could do to improve this.
Okay, great, thank you.
I'm going to get his plate, yeah. I don't know. Yeah, it could be a veteran car, yeah, I think.
You're the chairman. Just
Two,
tell me what to
6,
do.
8, 5, 9, that's me. I didn't get anything from you. Send it again.
Excellent. The time is now 6:57 p.m. Health, Education, and Welfare Committee is now open.
Oh, yeah, good.
Can I have an acceptance of the minutes on the committee meeting held on August 15th?
Make a motion to accept.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Thank you. Item number 1, PCR 50-18, a resolution in opposition to the proposed inclusion of the North Atlantic region in the 2019-2024 National Outer Continental Shelf Oil and Gas Leasing Program. Councilwoman Travis.
Yes, thank you. First of all, I think we should strike Mayor Avedisian right off that because it's still there. That should be taken off. But this is very important for the state of Rhode Island. We should be opposing the fact that we don't want any drilling 3 miles off the coast of, it goes from New Jersey through Maine, and after all, Rhode Island, this is the ocean state, we're right in the middle there. We rely on food and jobs and recreations from this water, and I think it's important. It's not like we're a big state like Alaska or anything. This is the East Coast that we should be in opposition of having any drilling done on our coastline. And I feel very strongly about this, even before former Mayor Avedisian even brought it up. And now, more than ever, Rhode Islanders should be concerned for the welfare of our offshore waters and not allow this, drilling to go. So I would like further action if possible.
Thank you. I would like to say, this is something I thought long and hard on, Councilwoman. This is near and dear to me, being that I'm a Gulf War era veteran, and I remember being a young guy thinking, why do we always depend on foreign oil? And being someone who also was stationed and served in Alaska, where I saw how there's been the challenge and the, if you will, the jeopardy of having the drilling, I'm still torn by the fact we're depending so much on foreign oil. And I feel hypocritical saying not in my backyard, but at the same time, I do understand the great resources we have here. And I'm looking forward to input from other members, but right now I have to stick by the 20 and 21 and, well, 19, 20, 21-year-old Tim Howe, and feel that I just have to draw the line in the sand literally and say I can't keep supporting foreign dependency on foreign oil. Councilman.
Oh, yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I share those concerns with the dependability on foreign oil, but I'm also looking at the reality of what's taking place, not just in our country, but around the globe. And I think through its own natural process, I think we're evolving into a nation that is going to be less dependent on oil, period. Mm-hmm. Solar is becoming a very natural and popular thing. We have wind. We have the wind towers out there. I believe they're over near the Vineyard, down in the New York area. Solar is becoming a significant factor in how we live day to day. I was reading some articles recently regarding solar and how potentially we could come to that crossroads that the railroad came across many years ago, when the airlines all of a sudden came up with a plane. And the railroad said, forget it, they're no competitors, they'll never bother us, we're in the railroad business. Well, they failed to recognize that they're in the transportation business. And consequently, the airline industry essentially put them almost out of business. This isn't about necessarily oil or drilling offshore or in our backyard. This is about energy. And I think we have, in not just our country but around the globe, I think we have some very brilliant people who are working on alternative sources of energy. I would think, given the issues that we're dealing with today with the electric cars, right now it's a commodity. They've had a couple little flukes, a little hiccup here or there, and people say, yeah, well, I believe that it's not that far down the road where these automobile companies better start rethinking how much money they're putting into developing engines. Because I think we're going to end up getting rid of meters, parking meters, and replacing them with electrical plug-ins. I could see from a big global picture, someday we may even have automobiles that have solar systems built into the paint finishes of the cars. So I'm questioning whether or not it's a wise move to say we want to take a chance with our environment and take a chance of our 39 miles of coastline and natural resources for something that may not provide us with a payback and may not be the prominent source of energy as we move down the road. You know, I made a joke a little while ago about the cannon string. So 50 years ago or so, well, those of us in our age, maybe just me and Councilman Galucci here, we remember talking on the cannon string. It's not that long ago. You look at the technology today, look back 10 years ago, it says, how did this all happen? And I think that's what's going to happen with energy. I think we will figure it out, and we're going to find a way to rely on our natural environment to provide us with the energy that we require. And I am going to have to stand in opposition to this particular resolution because I don't see it as being in the long term and in the global picture and in the big vision of not just the city of Warwick or the state of Rhode Island. I don't see it playing into a big picture for a payback. So because of those reasons, I'm going to be supporting this resolution on behalf of Councilwoman Travis.
Councilman McAllister.
I want to touch something along the lines that Councilman Lattiser talked about. That I also agree that this is an energy issue. It's not just an oil energy. It's an oil issue. It's an energy issue. But looking at the businesses here in Rhode Island and New England, we have the highest energy costs in the country, the continental United States. So obviously Hawaii and Alaska, 1 and 2. But then it is Connecticut, Rhode Island, California, New Hampshire, and Massachusetts are right up there with the highest. So I look at all energy, all clean energy is good energy, and looking at all the options that Councilman Lattiser was talking about. We need solar, we need more wind, and stuff like that. We also have to balance it with the environment. And, you know, we're the ocean state, and we, you know, fishing is a huge industry here as well. So I want to balance that. Thank you. So those are the things that I'm looking at, what I'm weighing it. There's two different things. You want to protect it, but we also have very high energy prices, and kind of taking something off the table is not going to help lower the energy prices for our businesses here in Rhode Island and in New England. So you know, I'm interested to hear from other council members and the public on this, but those are the two things that I'm personally weighing on this, is that I want to protect, you know, the ocean state. I want to protect our environment. I think that there are other energy sources that we can do, but we can't forget about the businesses here in Rhode Island that are paying the highest energy costs in the continental United States. Thank you.
Councilman Lattiser.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to add to that a bit. With respect to the energy costs, I mean, everyone sitting in this chamber has, for years, we've listened to the same song and a dance from the oil producers. And they're saying you have to produce more efficient automobiles. You have to produce more efficient trucks. You can't drive as far. You need better gas mileage. You have to have a real strong discipline for how much you use the car. You got to reduce consumption, et cetera, et cetera. Well, in America, we've done all that. We've come up with more efficient vehicles. We've come up with lighter vehicles. The vehicles now are plastic as opposed to steel. We've reduced the consumption of petroleum and gas significantly. And it seems to me that every time we drastically reduce the consumption of gasoline, all of a sudden the oil drillers raise the price per barrel. Mm-hmm. So where do you win? I feel like I'm being held hostage by a barrel of oil. So to me, somewhere along the line, we need to take a stand. We may just be a little city here in America, mm-hmm. but that's my feelings with it. I just don't see the financial benefit to us as a residential consumer or a business consumer, and I'm not comfortable with the fact that, you know, they're going to come in, drill a bunch of wells out there, mm-hmm. and all of a sudden start selling us cheaper oil.
Right. Thank you. Comments from the council? Comments from the public? Hearing? Oh, thank you. Please identify yourself at the mic.
Raymond McKay, resident city of Warwick. In regards to this oil proposal that we're discussing here, the benefits to the state of Rhode Island, $9.4 billion budget. The #1 employer is the state of Rhode Island. We need to bring industry to the state. To shut down any industry is keeping jobs away. We need to find a way to lower our taxes. We need to find a way to bring businesses back to Rhode Island. We need help in our school systems, our governments, our roads, our highways. We cannot continue to fund ourselves by ourselves. The solar energy right now is doing well as it is being heavily underwritten by the federal government. At some point, they're going to have to stand up on their own. And the question is, when will that happen? And it will happen in time. What's that time? We don't know. Right now, we need to take a look at this. This investment from the oil companies may be 5 or 10 years away, maybe sooner. But to tell them no, they can't come here, tells Rhode Islanders that there may be not any jobs for them, additional jobs. Something we need to pay attention to. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I asked for a discussion, I asked for input, and I got it, and I thank you all very much. And I want to thank you, Councilman, Mr. McKay, but especially Councilman Lattiser. You put it in a different perspective than what I was thinking, so I can definitely see and have a clear conscience supporting this with you. Councilwoman Travis, thank you for your opening remarks. Do I have an action or a motion?
I make a motion for favorable action at the request of the sponsor on PCR 50-18.
Do I have a second? I have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 2, or is it 12? PCR 5718, a resolution supporting a gun-free schools. Councilwoman Travis.
Yes, well, I guess, we see that Governor Raimondo announced the ban of carrying guns on the gun schools in executive order, where it states the gun ban comes in the form of a binding directive issued by Warner to all Rhode Island public school superintendents. So with that being done, I would make a motion to withdraw mine.
Councilman Lattiser.
At the request of the sponsor, I make a motion to withdraw PCR 57-18.
Do we have a second? We have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor? Aye. Thank you. The time is now 7:12. Health, Education, and Welfare Committee is closed. Councilman Corley, ordinance. We've got ordinance. Okay. Yeah. Oh, mine was that. The time is now 7:13 p.m. Ordinance Committee is now open. A motion for acceptance of the minutes in the committee meeting held on August 15th.
Make a motion to accept. Second.
Motion made, seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Item number 1, PCO 40-16, an ordinance regarding pedestrians. Council President Marola. Sponsor requests it hold until. Okay. Okay.
Request of the sponsor, I will make a motion to move PCO 40-16 to the pending file.
Second.
Motion made, seconded. All those in favor? Aye. The time is 7:14. Ordinance Committee is closed.
Yeah, back up there. Claims. This is Yeah, public safety minutes, where are they? Oh, we got it this here. What time is it?
7:16.
Public safety is now open at 7:16. We need an acceptance of minutes from the committee meeting held on July 16th. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, so first we have PCR 138-18, resolution relative to claims. Our first claim is Tom Tarnell, and I believe we have a letter that's been sent to us. It says, I am unable to make the 9/5/18 meeting to review my pothole claim. It would be appreciated if we could reschedule for the October meeting. So, do I have a motion?
Motion to hold to October, what's the date? October 1st.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Next, we have... Yes. Oh, that's because we're continuing it, right? PC 144?
I'm so sorry.
Is that what it is?
It's 143.18, I'm so sorry.
Okay, that's okay. It will now become PCR 143-18. Next, we have Stella Moran. Okay, I'm going to find my claims. Please just state your name and tell us about the claim.
My name is Stella Moran, and I was driving from Commonwealth Avenue onto Leon Whipple to Tollgate, and my car went into a very large pothole. I have pictures if you'd like to see it. I had to have my car towed from my place of business on Commonwealth Avenue to the dealership, and I had to have 2 tires replaced on the car.
Okay, now.
And I have a copy of the police report. I also sent it in with the claim.
Right. I know Councilman Galucci brought up to my attention that there's a note here stating by Rhode Island general law, pothole damages must be filled within 7 days from the incident. This claim is filed nearly 3 months after the incident. But if you look inside, do you see where it says date of incident is 5/9? But yet, over here it says said claim was filed in Finance Department on 5/21. So I don't know where they're getting 3 months from.
Madam Chair, maybe I can explain.
Councilman Galucci.
Thank you. The incident of May 9th was filed on the 21st, and speaking with our solicitor, that's 8 business days. Stella didn't get notification from the Finance Department until July 20. But they asked for information which she supplied. So I would respectfully request that the claim in the amount of $300 for Stella be allowed. She did file in a timely manner.
Thank you.
And the record shows that Finance responded July 20th. Stella responded to Finance, and now her claim should be addressed, and I guess in the amount, she's looking for $1,000, but we can only go to $300, and that's what I would suggest.
First, any questions from committee?
No, I agree with Councilman Galucci. I think that was, a timely manner. If you go by business days, off by 1, we're working on our roads. I think we're starting to see some improvement, but there are still plenty of potholes out there, so.
Any questions from Councilman? Any questions from the public? Councilman?
I'm looking at this page on the final where it states right here from the letter dated July 20th.
Yes.
This letter acknowledges receipt of your claim. Unfortunately, the claim cannot be processed at this time due to the following reasons: registration, copy of registration. That ended up being supplied, I believe, later on?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Thank you, I'm all set. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Okay.
Chairwoman.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion approved, which is for $300, which is the maximum we're allowed to approve.
Second?
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, okay, let's start. Robert and Erica, yeah. Come on down. And you can state your name, please.
Erica Nakapinski.
Nakapinski, okay. Can you tell us what happened?
Yeah, I just left work and was driving down Kilbert Street. It was pretty dark, hit a pothole, instant flat tire, bent rim. Drove a little ways to, get off the dark road, and coworker came and changed the tire for me. So I had to replace the tire and the rim.
Have you known, has it been repaired?
It has been repaired.
It has been repaired, because that is definitely one of our favorite roads.
Yeah.
And so they do have an approval of $247.64. Do we have any questions from the committee? Any questions from council? Any questions from the public? Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve for $247.64.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much.
I'm going to keep checking to see who's, this next one's Peter Gass. Somebody else called in too. All right. He's not coming. He's not coming. Now what's this one? Robert Mazzi? Mazzi? Next we have Robert Mazzio. Is Mr. Mazzio here?
Robert Mazzio from East Greenwich, Rhode Island.
He's not here. We'll hold, yep.
You ready?
Hold till
So we're going to give a PCR 14418.
It's going to be held to October 1st, and now it has become PCR 144-18.
Motion to hold PCR 144-18 until October 1st.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next we have Laura Johnson. Pothole on East Avenue. Is Laura Johnson here? Laura Johnson. Okay, no Laura Johnson.
No.
It's been denied, so we can deny it,
You
right?
can deny it and send it to Kent County Water.
All right, and no, it's been, the claim is the responsibility of the Kent County Water Authority, so we can deny it, really.
I'll make a motion to deny this claim and send it to the Kent County Water Authority as they are referred to in the entity.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Being denied. I have so much trouble getting this paper.
Guess is not here.
Yeah, Guest. Peter Guest is not here. I believe we got a note from him also stating, I received a phone call from Mr. He is here? Oh, he did come. Okay. That's no good now. Just state your name and tell us what happened.
Peter Guest. I left work and I was driving down Post Road to get some food, and I took a right on Bel Air Ave and I hit a bad pothole. It was instant flat tire and rim damage too, but you guys only covered up to $300 I saw, so the tire was that.
Have you been back there? Is it that pothole been fixed?
Yeah, I sent in a bunch of documents to the state, and they sent me the same stuff back with a picture of the fixed pothole saying, go to the city. So,
okay.
All right.
Okay, it does say approval of the claim for $299.60. Any questions from the committee?
I have one quick question. It's logistics. Again, the department recommends approval for the amount, but our statute says that we award the lowest.
Yeah. Yeah, but I wonder why they approved it for $299.
Does the track.com include the rim?
What's that?
Does the track.com,
Bend rim, it said flat tire bend rim.
yeah, that 221 to 52, did that address the tire and the rim?
No. When I came here and talked to some lady, I don't know who I talked to, she said to send 2 other quotes of tires, and those are just 2 other tires that I found.
Okay, yeah, what Councilman Howard was talking about, we have to approve the lowest of the 3 bids. That's what he's pointing out. That's why.
Not the tire that I paid for?
The reason why they ask for 3 invoices
Yep.
is you supply us 3 invoices.
Yep.
We then, with the understanding that we will approve for the lowest amount given. So it sounds like you had the work done.
Yeah.
And then she said, get 2 more invoices. You went out and just got 2 more invoices.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, with the way that our statute is written, we can only approve for the lowest amount. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, it wasn't, she didn't say invoices, she told me to send
Estimates.
Not even of just tires, just the tire itself, but what about the labor to put it on? I can't put a tire on a rim myself. So,
yes.
Council is saying that he looked it up, and that does not include, the lowest bid does not include helping, fixing the rim. So he said we could accept if we'd like the
yeah,
$299.60.
Yeah, the rim,
It's because it's under
$1,000, I don't know.
Okay,
Yeah.
excellent.
All right,
Thank you.
cool.
We had a
All set?
discussion with you.
All set?
Hold on one more, we're just going to vote on it.
Okay, so first I need, any questions from any council? Or from the public? All right, then I do need a motion.
Motion to approve the recommended of $299.60.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All set,
Okay,
thank
you're
you.
all set. And next we have Susan Bellino. Susan? Potholes, Guanup Drive, that's another favorite place. Oh, I guess we're holding.
Motion to hold to October 1st.
What's the PCR?
And that's 145.18. PCR 145.18.
Seconded.
Being held till October 1st. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. The claims are done. Now we're going to go to the docket. Oh, that's Tom again. We already did acceptance of minutes, right? Now we have PCO-17-18 ordinance in regard to moving the no parking signs on the east side of Bank Street and amending the no parking signs on the west side of Bank Street to say no parking this side. This is Councilman Corley. Yes.
I would ask that you favorably consider the second passage.
That's right, second passage.
I'll make a motion to approve the second passage.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next, we have PCO 17-18 ordinance in regard to moving the no parking sign on the east side of Bank Street and amending the no parking sign on the west side of Bank Street to say no parking this side. Now, did I just do that one?
Yeah, we're on
Well, why am I reading that one again? All right, PCO 20-18, ordinance in regards to no parking this side, east side of Benefit Street. Councilman McAllister.
Thank you. I ask for favorable action. The second passage, this is backed up with a traffic study for no parking on the east side of Benefit Street.
Make a motion for favorable action. Second passage.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
PCO 18-18, ordinance in regards to no overnight parking either side of Priscilla Avenue. Councilman Lattisaw. Councilman Lattisaw? Priscilla Avenue.
Yes, just a clarification from...
It's not drafted, right?
No, but I need just to review with our council solicitor, John. If I recall, we had the discussion on this ordinance for overnight parking on either side of Priscilla, and I believe your research indicated the ordinance is already in place. All we need to do is just have the signs installed? Okay. So, Madam Chair, based upon that information provided by our city solicitor, I will withdraw PCO 18-18 and reach out to DPW to get the appropriate signage installed.
Yep. I'll make the motion to withdraw on behalf of the sponsor.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so where am I? So you made the motion. 7-3. Okay, next we have PCR-16-18, tree damage claims. This is not drafted. This is Councilman McAllister.
Hold to October 15.
Being held to October 15th.
Motion to hold till October 15th?
Okay.
Second.
7. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, now we're going back to claims. We have a claim for, we're going to go back to the beginning, right? Where's the claims? Gary Bucco here? We held this from August 15th, and this was an approval one. It was supposed to be approved anyway. What are we doing with that?
You have a note or anything?
Did he send a note? No? Yeah.
How many times have we held this one?
Just that one, right? August 15th.
Okay.
Get mixed up.
Yeah, okay. All right, so.
Just to make a motion, we want to be consistent that you have to come before the council to put the claim in. People sit here, obviously this was supposed to start at 6 o'clock, it's now 7:30. We held this a couple of times. He did receive final notice. Yep. He's chosen not to come, so I'm going to make a recommendation of denial of this claim.
Seconded.
Denied, seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
It's been denied. Next, PCR 118-18, claim for Victor Santos. This is a claimant's cell phone was damaged by Warwick Police during the course of an investigation. Please state your name and tell us what happened.
Victor Santos. In the process of getting arrested, he placed my cell phone on his hood, and I guess it passed by his mind, but when he got arrested, took off and it got damaged.
So your phone got damaged?
Totally, yeah.
Okay. Any questions from the committee?
Just the department recommends approval for $200.
Mm-hmm. Any questions from council? Any questions from the public? And we do have a recommendation, right?
Yep.
To approve for $200. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve claim for $200.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Is this the last one? No, it can't be, because I've got another paper. Okay. Wonderful. PCR 123-18, resolutions in regards to a three-way stop sign on Bella and Narragansett Bay Avenue. This is Councilman Ladisor. It's not drafted. Make a motion to hold, somebody.
Motion to hold to September 17th.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Being held to September 17th. PCR 131-18, resolution to reopen Hayland Road to Evergreen. This is Councilman Howell. It's not drafted.
I ask that we hold until October 15th, I believe, is the second meeting.
Madam Chair,
Councilman Lattiser?
I'd like to be added as a sponsor under that, please,
Yes.
if it's okay with the sponsor.
Absolutely, thank you, Councilman. Actually, if I remember correctly, you offered...
You mentioned that,
yeah.
I remember too.
I'll make a second to the motion to hold.
Okay, so we got today's... all in favor?
Aye.
Being held to October 15th. PCR 13518, resolution in regards to proposed crosswalk improvements for Connecticut Village. This is Councilman McAllister and Councilman Hall.
Yes, thank you. This is part of the community development grant that we received in Connecticut. They're putting it down there in the community down there. Crosswalks, a safety issue. It's also going to look very nice. It's going along with a number of other projects they are doing in that area. And Mayor Solomon asked myself and Councilman Howe to put this in for him, as right now there isn't a council person from his ward, so we were happy to sponsor that on behalf of Mayor Solomon.
Any questions? Any questions from the council people? Any questions from the public? Do I have a motion?
I move for favorable action. Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
What time is it? Yes, we did. Oh, that's right. Okay, so, do I have a motion to accept the minutes from the committee meeting held on August 15th?
So moved. Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Public safety is now closed at 7:38.
I call the Intergovernmental Committee at 7:40. First order is acceptance of the minutes held on August 15th.
I would move acceptance of the minutes.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. First is PCR 132-18, a resolution in regards to the 2019 Warwick City Council calendar. Councilman Lattiser.
Sorry, Chair, please repeat.
Yes, this is for the 2019 Warwick City Council calendar, the dates that we'll be meeting next year.
Okay, so you have the recommended calendar in your packet from the council president, and I would request favorable action.
All right. Do we have any questions for favorable action on this from the committee?
I just have one comment I want to make. I find that the first meeting in June is quite difficult due to the fact that we've just met for 4 or 5 days in the prior week, and I didn't know if it was possible that the first meeting in June could be either vacated and just have a meeting in the middle of the month due to the work that has to be done to get through the city budget. That's my comment.
Mr. Chair, I'd have to defer to the council president. The calendar is at his pleasure.
Change it. We can hold on this. We don't need to, when the council president comes back, if that's all right with the sponsor.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
Okay, I'll accept a motion to hold. Hold to the next meeting, right? Okay.
Yes.
I'll make the motion. Motion to hold.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next is PCR 13318, a resolution to dissolve the current Charter Review Committee. Councilman Lattiser.
Mr. Chair, I'm looking to dissolve that Charter Review Commission that was set up a few years ago. It is now appropriate to dissolve it, and I'm going to be looking to reform a new committee.
Okay. Any questions from the committee? Any questions from the council? Any questions from the public? All right.
I would move for favorable action.
Do you have a second? It's been moved in a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And finally, we have PCR 13418, a resolution to create a charter review committee, not drafted. Councilman Lattiser.
Hold till October 1st. I do believe there are a couple of members of the council that want to be added on as co-sponsors.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to be added as a co-sponsor.
Mr. Chairman, I would also be honored to be added as a co-sponsor.
All right. We will add
Thank you.
Councilman Lattiser, Councilwoman Travis, Councilman Howe.
I've already told the sponsor that I wanted to be added as a sponsor.
Thank you.
Councilman Corley, Councilman Ricks.
Thank you.
All right, so we'll entertain a motion to hold until October 1st on behalf of the sponsor.
So move.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. And that closes intergovernmental at 7:44.
That's me.
I got you much between phone tags.
It's you.
Yeah. Because, what's it now? Is it midnight or is it 10 o'clock? It's 10. I don't think it's going to go lower. I don't think it's going to go lower than 10. Nope. Isn't it appointments now? Oh,
Properties.
did we do appointments? Oh, there's no appointments there.
Okay, this is the meeting of the Public Properties, Land Use Committee, and Community Affairs. We are opening the meeting at 7:45. The first item on the agenda is the acceptance of minutes from the committee meeting held on August 15th.
I make a motion, we accept the minutes from the August 15th.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. The second item is PCO-16-18, an ordinance relative to an amendment to the future land use map to consolidate waterfront business zone to conform with existing marine use of the subject property. It is on for second passage. Councilwoman Travis.
Yes, I would move favorable action.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The second item on the agenda is PCR-165-17, the sale of former Christopher Rhodes Elementary School. It's not drafted. And Councilman Ricks.
Request to hold until October 1st.
At the request of the sponsor,
I make a motion we hold PCR 165-17 till October 1st.
Second.
all in favor? Aye. We are closed. The meeting is ended, and it is 7:47.
Thank
That's
you.
an airplane.
Now there's a couple. Your fish is going to be in there. It's easier.
Is that? You good? You guys good?
No.
Lynn?
No.
Okay. City Council will come to order. The clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Marola?
Here.
Mr. Qualley?
Here.
Mr. Galucci? Here. Mr. Howe?
Here.
Mr. Lattiser?
Here.
Mr. McAllister?
Here.
Mr. Ricks?
Here.
Ms. Travis?
Here.
That's 8 present.
Okay, just for the record, it's 7:50 p.m. The salute to the flag, if Councilman McAllister can lead us in the salute to the flag.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in
Thank you. The first item on the agenda is general communications. I understand Councilman Gallucci, you had an announcement.
On behalf of the entire City Council, Councilman Corley, we have a resolution of congratulations to Paul. If Paul would come up, and the councilman has the resolution.
Well, on behalf of the city, this is a resolution of congratulations, and let me just read it to you. Whereas Paul D. Petrillo was born on June 12, 1949, and whereas Paul listed in the United States Army on August 31st, 1966 during the Vietnam War, and whereas Specialist 4 D. Petrillo served honorably as a microwave equipment repair specialist in the defense of the Korean Peninsula with the 19th Aviation, 55th Maintenance, and 260th Military Police. And whereas Paul D. Petrillo was discharged from the Army, United States Army on August 30th, 1972, and whereas Specialist D. Petrillo received the Army Achievement Medal with Oak Leaf Cluster, the National Defense Service Medal, the Armed Forces Expeditionary Medal, Korea Defense Service Medal, an Expert Badge and Rifle Bar, and whereas Specialist D. Petrillo's interest and devotion to his job has earned him plenty of accolades. His dedication and zeal in his work has won the respect and affection of his fellow colleagues. Now therefore be it resolved, the Mayor and the City Council extend to Specialist 4 Paul D. Petrillo their heartfelt appreciation for his hard work and dedication. Specialist. Donna. And other things for you to do. My God, don't want to wait.
So as we're back on general communications, I know that we've had several passings over the weekend, and by the way, I hope everybody enjoyed their holiday weekend, Labor Day weekend. But we have had several people passing, including Mr. Capianato and Senator McCain on the federal level. And I don't know if anyone else wanted to add anyone else in, but in honor of those individuals in particular, I was just going to ask for a moment of silence. Thank you. Is there anything else under general communications? Councilman Howe.
Thank you, Council President. Let me begin a little impromptu. I thank you for mentioning Senator John McCain. I know that there's been a lot of hot discussion, the politics involved in it, and the environment and all that, but let's not forget that that's a man who spent 5 years in a prison as a prisoner of war in the Hanoi Hilton with 2 broken legs, a broken collarbone, and never received medical treatment. So I think that's important to say, that they can disagree with him politically, but you can never question the integrity and the courage that man had. So thank you, Mr. President. I'd just like to also make an announcement that the annual Rhode Island Military Organization and City of Warwick 9/11 Memorial will be going on at 10:28 on Tuesday morning at the OBC Wall, where the Memorial Garden, 9/11 Memorial Garden is located. So again, that's Tuesday, the morning of 9/11 at 10:28 a.m. Sunset. The night candle light vigil will also go on that evening, and the information will be provided then. Thank you, Mr. President.
Anything else under general communications? I also had one further announcement. I am sponsoring a movie night at Clouds Hill Farm. Not this Friday, but the following Friday with Mayor Solomon. We're co-sponsoring it together. And we had a similar event last year where we had about 200 people show up for an outdoor movie night. Obviously, the entire city's welcome to come, whoever wants to bring kids or family, and we'll have a few food trucks up there. So it's nice to do things that are not political. We were doing those in off years also, just to get the community together, because we have enough lively debate on issues. It's just nice to come together to celebrate family and friends and to do something nice for the community. With that said, the first item on the agenda is the acceptance of minutes from council meeting held on August 15th, 2018. I need a motion for favorable action. Councilman Lattisaw, seconded by Councilman Howe, Councilman McAllister. Any discussion on the minutes? If not, all those in favor? Aye. Aye. All those opposed? Next item on the agenda is announcement of appointments. School Building Committee, Lynn Prodger, and Lynn's here with us tonight. And also Hugh Fisher, I think Hugh was here, or is here. Thank you for serving, Hugh. And William Holmes, thank you for serving, William. There are no appointments requiring confirmation on the calendar tonight. Next item on the agenda is the consent calendar, and it's a resolution relative to bids. Councilman Lattisaw. Seconded by Councilman Howe, Councilman McAllister. Go ahead, Councilman.
Move favorable action on PCR 136-18.
And it's been seconded. If you could go through the list.
Item number 2, 2018-078, overhead door repairs and the replacements now becomes PCR 139-18. 2018-31, frames, grates, and covers becomes PCR 140-18. 2019-039 was a motion to rescind with favorable action. 2019-32 39B, favorable action. 2019-76, Stalker Dual radars, becomes PCR 14118. 2019-79, miscellaneous police gear, favorable action. 2019-084, police breast hat badges, favorable action. 2019-85, oil hydraulic transmission fluids, becomes PCR 14218. 2019-114, municipal city annual software, favorable action. 2019 police undercover operations, favorable action. 2019-117, replace harnesses, favorable action. 2019 State of Rhode Island fire extinguisher maintenance, favorable action. And that completes the bid package.
Thank you. I know we spent 2 hours on this. I think the Finance Committee was here from about 5 to 7 on this, getting input from the public also. Are there any further questions on the Finance Committee docket? Anything further? Okay. There's a resolution relative to abatements, PCR 137-18. What's that? Okay. I guess, Lynn, we need a separate number there for a conflict. Okay. So I'll skip the claims. Okay. We'll skip PCR 137-18 as part of the consent calendar. We'll move on to PCR 138-18, a resolution relative to claims. Committee report, public safety.
Favorable action.
For favorable action, Councilwoman Travis.
I move favorable action on PCR 138-18.
Seconded by Councilman McAllister, Councilman Howe, Councilman Lattisaur. Go ahead, Councilwoman.
Yes, Mr. President. The first claim is going to be held until October 1st, and it's been, now it will become PCR 143-18. The second claim is a pothole that was on Libet Road, and that's being approved for $300. Oh, these papers. The third claim is approved for $247.64. Our next claim is going to be held until October 1st. This also is a pothole on Kilwood Street. It's become PCR 144-18. Our next claim is a pothole on East Avenue. It's being denied. Next we have a claim that's approved for $299.60. This was a pothole on Belia Avenue. And our last claim is being held also for October 1st. It now is PCR 145-18. Those are all our claims.
Thank you, Councilwoman. I know also that Public Safety had a long meeting on these issues also. Members of the public were able to speak. Are there any questions that were not asked at that Public Safety Committee meeting that the council wanted to address now? If not, the consent calendar minus the resolution relative to abatements has been moved and seconded. The clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Morales?
Yes.
Mr. Qualley?
Yes.
Mr. Delucci?
Yes.
Mr. Howe?
Yes.
Mr. Lattiser?
Yes.
Mr. McAllister?
Yes.
Mr. Ricks?
Yes.
And Ms. Travis?
Yes.
Consent calendar passes. We'll go back to that item that we'll vote on separately. That's PCR 137-18, a resolution relative to abatements. Committee report, Finance.
Committee recommended holding until September 17th.
Okay, that's going to be held till September 17th. Next item on the agenda is unfinished business, PCO. Oh, I'm sorry. There were two bids that were pulled out. Do you have the numbers?
I know, but I don't know what the one thirty, did you just say this was 137?
Which one's one? Okay. I have 4 of them, right? Okay. First item that was pulled was 2018-078, which is now PCR 13918. There's a recommendation from Finance on that.
Mr. President, the recommendation was to hold till September 17th.
It's going to be held till September 17th. Next item on the agenda is 2018-031. It's now PCR 140-18. Is there a recommendation from Finance on that?
We had assigned it a separate PCR number, Mr. President, because I believe you're going to be recusing.
Yes. And so there's favorable action. Okay. For favorable action, Councilman Lattiser.
Move favorable action on on PCR 140-18.
Seconded by Councilman Howe, Councilman McAllister. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Morone.
Abstain.
Mr. Collins.
Yes.
Mr. Galucci.
Yes.
Mr. Howe.
Yes.
Mr. Lattiser.
Yes.
Mr. McAllister.
Yes.
Mr. Ricks.
Yes.
Ms. Travis.
Yes.
That's 7 yes, 1 abstain.
PCR 140-18 stands passed. Next item on the agenda is 2019-76, which is now PCR 141-18. And that was removed. Is there a recommendation from the Finance Committee on that?
There was a recommendation with an amendment, Mr. President. And the amendment was to reduce the amount.
So that you're moving favorable action with an amendment, second?
Correct.
Okay, go ahead. That's your recommendation. So if you could move that, it would be seconded by Councilman Howe, Councilman McAllister. Go ahead, Councilman.
The amendment is to reduce the amount to $24,270.
Any, could I have a second on that amendment? Seconded by Councilman Howe, Councilman McAllister. Any discussion as to why it was amended?
The reason it was amended, Mr. President, is the police department had indicated that there was hard carrying cases included in that bid of $80 per unit for the 12 units they were purchasing. And they had stated that they do not need those cases because these units will be permanently mounted in the vehicles, so they're not going to be bouncing around, coming out of the vehicles, going home, etc.
Okay. Any further discussion on the amendment? If not, the clerk will call the roll on the amendment.
Mr. Morone.
Yes.
Mr. Collins.
Yes.
Mr. Galucci.
Yes.
Mr. Howe.
Yes.
Mr. Lattiser.
Yes.
Mr. McAllister.
Yes.
Mr. Ricks.
Yes.
Ms. Travis.
Yes.
That's 8 yes.
The amendment stands passed. Councilman Lattiser, if you could move PCR 141-18 as amended.
Move favorable action on PCR 141-18 as amended.
Seconded by Councilman Howe, Councilman McAllister. Any discussion on PCR 141-18 as amended? Just the amount was amended. If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Morone.
Yes.
Mr. Collins.
Yes.
Mr. Galucci.
Yes.
Mr. Howe.
Yes.
Mr. Lattiser.
Yes.
Mr. McAllister.
Yes.
Mr. Ricks.
Yes.
Ms. Travis.
Yes.
That's 8 yes.
PCR 141-18 as amended stands passed. The last item that was removed off of the finance consent calendar was 2019-85, which is now PCR 142-18. Is there a recommendation from finance?
Favorable action with an amendment.
Okay, and for action, Councilman Lattiser. If you could move it.
Favorable action as amended.
Okay, seconded by Councilman Howe, Councilman McAllister. Go ahead, Councilman.
So we have a couple of things going on we're going to split this up between police and fire. So essentially, we're going to split it up into PCR 142A-18, and the amount of the award to police and fire is going to be $8,500.
So you're moving to amend PCR 142 to PCR 142A-18? Is that your amendment? Okay. Is any...
That's one part of it.
Okay. And do I have a second on that amendment? Seconded by Councilman Howe, seconded by Councilman McAllister. Any discussion on that amendment to create a PCR 142A-18?
The reason there was a lot of testimony on this, long and the short is, we're splitting police and fire because the Finance Committee didn't have any questions with regard to those appropriations. There is a question on one item in DPW, actually 3 items in DPW, so we're splitting that up into a separate PCR on its own.
Okay. So, Councilman, just so we're clear on the amendment, it's going to be PCR 142A-18, and in Part A, police and the amount for police and fire is going to be $8,500, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Is there any discussion, it's been moved and seconded, is there any discussion as far as the council goes on amending this to 142A in the amount of $8,500? If not, the clerk will call the roll. Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
So PCR 142-18 stands passed.
142A?
For 142A-18 stands passed. You have another amendment, Councilman?
I do. It's going to be the second part of the bid. It's PCR 142B-18, and that is going to include the amount of award to DPW for $42,000, and it's going to include items number 7 and number 15, or transfer items number 7 and 15 to the vendor safety clean.
That's your amendment. Do I have
and we're going to hold it until September 17th.
All right, so let's get a second on the amendment, seconded by Councilman Howe and Councilman McAllister. And your recommendation on PCR 142B-18 is to hold until September 17th?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so PCR 142. Okay, let's vote on the amendment first instead of holding it. So is there any discussion on the amendment, amending PCR 142B-18 to the amount of $42,000 and awarding 7 and 15 to Safety Clean? Is there any discussion on that? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Averla?
Yes.
Mr. Corley?
Yes. Yes.
Mr. Bellucci? Mr. Howe?
Yes.
Mr. Lattiser?
Yes.
Mr. McAllister?
Yes.
Mr. Ricks?
Yes.
Ms. Travis?
Yes.
Okay. So that's been amended to 142B-18.
Can't hear.
7 and 15 are going to one vendor, correct? Safety
7
Clean.
and 15 will go to Safety Clean.
Yeah. Right, you're going to make a motion to hold?
And a motion to hold PCR 142B-18 as amended till September 17th.
Okay, so 142B18 is going to be held until September 17th. Back to you, thanks. Okay, next item on the agenda, unfinished business, is PCO 1618, an ordinance relative to an amendment to the future land use map, FLUME, to consolidate waterfront business zone to conform with existing marine use of the subject property. This is for second passage. Councilwoman Travis.
Favorable action.
Councilwoman Travis, actually, let me get a recommendation from land use. Land use, I'm sorry. What's the recommendation from land use?
The recommendation from the committee was for favorable action on second passage.
Okay, and Councilwoman Travis, you're moving that?
I move favorable action on PCO-16-18.
Do I have a second? Councilman Lattisaw, Councilman Corley, and Councilman Gallucci. Any discussion on second passage of PCO 1618? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Marola?
Yes.
Mr. Qualley?
Yes.
Mr. Gallucci?
Yes.
Mr. Howe?
Yes.
Mr. Lattiser?
Yes.
Mr. McAllister?
Yes.
Mr. Ricks?
Yes.
Ms. Travis?
Yes.
8 yes.
PCO 1618 stands passed. Next item on the agenda is PCO 1718, an ordinance in regards to moving the no parking signs on the east side of Bank Street and amending the no parking signs on the west side of Bank Street to say no parking this side. This is Councilman Corley. Could I get a recommendation from Public Safety?
Favorable action.
Favorable action for favorable action. Councilman Corley.
I would move for favorable action on the second passage.
PCO 1718. Councilman Corley moves for favorable action for second passage, seconded by Councilwoman Travis, Councilman McAllister, Councilman Gallucci. Any discussion on second passage of PCO 1718? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Marola?
Yes.
Mr. Qualley?
Yes.
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 Mr. McAllister?
Yes.
Mr. Ricks?
Yes.
Ms. Travis?
Yes.
Stands passed. Next item on the agenda is PCO 2018, an ordinance in regards to no parking this side, east side of Benefit Street. That's Councilman McAllister. It's for second passage. Can I get a report from Public Safety?
Favorable action.
Favorable action for action, Councilman McAllister.
Move favorable action.
Councilman McAllister moves favorable action. It's seconded by Councilman Gallucci, Councilwoman Travis, Councilman Howe, Councilman Lattisaw. Any discussion on second passage of PCO 2018 regarding no parking this side of Benefit Street? If not, the clerk will call a roll.
Mr. Marola?
Yes.
Mr. Qualley?
Yes.
Mr. Gallucci?
Yes.
Mr. Howe?
Yes.
Mr. Lattiser?
Yes.
Mr. McAllister?
Yes.
Mr. Ricks?
Yes.
Ms. Travis?
Yes.
8 yes.
PCO 2018 stands passed. Next item on the agenda is PCO 4016, an ordinance regarding pedestrians. Committee report ordinance.
Move to the pending file per the sponsor's request.
Let's move to the pending file. Next item on the agenda is PCO 1818, an ordinance in regards to no overnight parking either side on Priscilla Avenue. It's for first passage. I understand it's not drafted. Could I have a report from Public Safety?
A motion to withdraw from the sponsor.
Motion to withdraw for action, Councilman Lattisaw.
Make a motion to withdraw PCO 18-18.
Councilman Lattisaw makes a motion, seconded by Councilman Howe, Councilwoman Travis, Councilman Gallucci. Any discussion on the motion to withdraw PCO 1818? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Marola?
Yes.
Mr. Qualley?
Yes.
Mr. Gallucci?
Yes.
Mr. Howe?
Yes.
Mr. Lattiser?
Yes.
Mr. McAllister?
Yes.
Mr. Ricks?
Yes.
Ms. Travis?
Yes.
That's 8 yes.
PCO 1818 stands withdrawn. Next item on the agenda is PCR 94-17, bid number 2017-147, State of Rhode Island Telecommunications Services / Installation and Parts Committee Report, Finance.
Hold September 17th.
Held till September 17th. Next item on the agenda is PCR 148-17, bid number 2008-143, installation of sprinklers at Cooper Building Drill Hall. Committee report,
September 17th.
Committee report finance is to hold till September 17th. Next item on the agenda is PCR 165-17, sale of former Christopher Rhodes Elementary School property. I understand that's not drafted. Committee report, public properties.
At the request of the sponsors, being held till October 1st.
Held to October 1st. Next item on the agenda is PCR 1618, tree damage claims. That's Councilman McAllister. I understand that's not drafted. Could I have a report from Public Safety?
Being held to October 15th.
Held till October 15th. Next item on the agenda is PCR 4818, bid number 2018-243, medical evaluations for Warwick Fire Department. Committee report, Finance.
Hold September 17th.
Held till September 17th. Next item on the agenda is PCR 50-18, a resolution in opposition to the proposed inclusion of the North Atlantic region in the 2019-2024 National Outer Continental Shelf Oil and Gas Leasing Program. Committee report, Health, Education, and Welfare.
Favorable action.
For favorable action, Councilwoman Travis.
I move favorable action on PCR-50-18.
Councilwoman Travis moves favorable action, seconded by Councilman McAllister, Councilman Galucci, Councilman Lattisaw, and Councilman Ricks, and Councilman Howe. Any discussion?
Councilman Ricks did want to put his name on it, too.
Okay. Councilman Ricks will be added as a co-sponsor. Is there any discussion on the resolution? I know we had some discussion in the Health, Education, and Welfare Committee. I know the resolution kind of speaks for itself. If not, the clerk will call the roll. And a yes is to approve the resolution.
Mr. Marola?
Yes.
Mr. Cawley?
Yes.
Mr. Galucci?
Yes.
Mr. Howe?
Yes.
Mr. Lattiser?
Yes.
Mr. McAllister?
Yes.
Mr. Ritz?
Yes.
Ms. Travis?
Yes.
Yes.
Stands passed. Next item on the agenda is PCR 5718, a resolution supporting gun-free schools. Committee report, Health, Education, and Welfare.
A request of the sponsor withdrawn.
Okay. For action, Councilwoman Travis.
I make a motion to withdraw PCR 57-18.
Councilwoman Travis makes a motion to withdraw, seconded by Councilman McAllister, Councilman Galucci, Councilman Howe, Councilman Lattisaw. Any discussion on the motion to withdraw? I understand from the committee meeting that the governor had already passed this and the sponsor therefore was withdrawing it. A yes vote is to withdraw. The clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Marola?
Yes.
Mr. Cawley?
Yes.
Mr. Galucci?
Yes.
Mr. Howe?
Yes.
Mr. Lattiser?
Yes.
Mr. McAllister?
Yes.
Mr. Ritz?
Yes.
Ms. Travis?
Yes.
8 yes.
PCR 5718 stands withdrawn. Next item on the agenda is PCR 117-18, claim Gary Bucco. Committee report, Public Safety.
A motion to deny.
Okay. The motion is, so it's unfavorable action.
Yes.
For action, Councilwoman
right.
Travis.
I move unfavorable action on PCR 117-18.
Seconded by Councilman McAllister, Councilman Howe, Councilman Lattisaw. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Marola?
Yes.
Mr. Cawley?
Yes.
Mr. Galucci?
Yes.
Mr. Howe?
Yes.
Mr. Lattiser?
Yes.
Mr. McAllister?
Yes.
Mr. Ricks?
Yes.
Ms. Travis?
Yes.
That's 8 yes.
Claim stands denied. Next item on the agenda is PCR 11818, claim of Victor Santos, committee report, public safety.
Favorable action.
For favorable, the committee reports favorable action. For favorable action, Councilwoman Travis.
I move favorable action on PCR 118-18.
Seconded by Councilman McAllister, Councilman Galucci, Councilman Howe, Councilman Lattiser.
It's in the amount of $200.
Okay, it's for how much?
$200.
$200. Okay, so a yes vote is to approve the claim for $200. Is there any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Maroon?
Yes.
Mr. Cawley?
Yes.
Mr. Galucci?
Yes.
Mr. Howe?
Yes.
Mr. Lattiser?
Yes.
Mr. McAllister?
Yes.
Mr. Ricks?
Yes.
Ms. Travis?
Yes.
That's 8 yes.
Claim stands approved. Next item on the agenda is PCR 12318, a resolution in regards to a three-way stop sign on Bell and Narragansett Bay Avenue. Committee, I understand it's not drafted. Committee report, public safety.
Being held to September 17th.
Held till September 17th. New business. Next item on the agenda is PCR 13118, a resolution to reopen Helena Road to Evergreen. I understand it's not drafted. Committee recommendation from public safety.
Being held to October 15th.
Held till October 15th. Next item on the agenda is PCR 13218, a resolution in regards to the 2019 Warwick City Council calendar. Committee report, intergovernmental.
Hold to September 17th.
Hold till December?
September 17th.
Oh, September 17th. Hold till December 17th. Next item on the agenda is PCR 13318, resolution to dissolve the current Charter Review Committee. Committee report, intergovernmental.
Favorable action.
For action, Councilman Lattiser.
Move favorable action on PCR 133-18 for withdrawal.
Seconded by Councilman Howe, Councilwoman Travis, Councilman McAllister, Councilman Galucci. Any discussion on PCR 133-18, a resolution to dissolve the current Charter Review Committee? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Maroon?
Yes.
Mr. Cawley?
Yes.
Mr. Galucci?
Yes.
Mr. Howe?
Yes.
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 Ms. Travis?
Yes.
A resolution to dissolve stands passed. Next item on the agenda is PCR 13418, a resolution to create a Charter Review Committee. I understand it's not drafted. Committee report, intergovernmental.
Hold October 1st.
Held till October 1st. Next item on the agenda is PCR 13518, a resolution in regards to proposed crosswalk improvements for Connecticut Village. Committee report, public safety.
Favorable action.
For favorable action for action, Councilman McAllister.
I move favorable action on PCR 135-18.
Seconded by Councilman Howe, Councilman Lattiser, and Councilwoman Travis. Any discussion on the resolution in regards to proposed crosswalk improvements for Connecticut Village? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Maroon?
Yes.
Mr. Cawley?
Yes.
Mr. Galucci?
Yes.
Mr. Howe?
Yes.
Mr. Lattiser?
Yes.
Mr. McAllister?
Yes.
Mr. Ricks?
Yes.
Ms. Travis?
Yes.
8 yes.
PCR 135-18 stands passed. Going to move to unanimous consent. Ward 1, unanimous consent. Pass. Ward 2.
Pass.
Ward 3.
Pass.
Ward 4. Ward 5, sorry. Ward 6.
Pass.
Ward 7.
Pass.
Ward 8.
Pass.
And I also pass. If there's no further business, I defer to Councilman Galucci.
Move to adjourn to the docket session.
Councilman Galucci moves to adjourn to the docket session. Is seconded by Councilman Howe, and Councilman McAllister, and Councilwoman Travis. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Okay, we're in the docket session. Ward 1.
Pass.
Ward 2.
2 items. First, tentative title, an ordinance to amend section 4-13, keeping and feeding of wildlife.
Ordinance.
Second, tentative title, an ordinance in regards to no parking on Heath Ave to be erected on the odd south side of Heath Ave, starting at 2nd Ave and extending west to 69 Heath Ave.
Public safety. Ward 3.
Pass.
Ward 5.
Pass.
Ward 6.
Pass.
Ward 7.
Pass.
Ward 8. I have 3. The first one is entitled Resolution Regarding Airport Air Quality Monitoring. If anybody wants to co-sponsor it, Councilman Ricks and Councilman Howe wanted to co-sponsor, Councilwoman Travis and Councilman McAllister and Councilman Lattisaw also. And that would go into intergovernmental. Next one is a resolution to the Rhode Island Infrastructure Bank and Warwick Sewer Authority requesting 30-year loan term for sewer assessments. That's going to be co-sponsored, and if people want to co-sponsor it, they're welcome to add their names by Councilman Lattisaw and Councilman Corley, Councilman Ricks, and Councilwoman Travis. Okay, and that's also going to be intergovernmental. Resolution requesting that the DPW director report quarterly before the city council as water and sewer do and MIS. It's sponsored by myself and Councilman Ricks, Councilman Howe, Councilman Lattisaw. Anyone else? If not, that will also go into intergovernmental. Sure. Marola, Ricks, Howe, and Lattisaw. Okay, if there's no further docketing, we're adjourned.